It's Fully Threaded Radio, episode 225.
So right now, we're still going to have copper, aluminum, steel derivative tariffs going forward in the short term, which is all of our products, right? And I still think that the question of how it ultimately gets resolved, I don't think that's been answered. I think there's still going to be some form of tariff application. And I'm not waiting for any refund checks in the mail just yet.
Right now, if you make a phone call to a customer service number, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get to a human being, right? It's like, operator,
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get the software to get you to someone who can help you better.
Yeah, representative.
Right, right. I predict in the next few years that's going to flip and you're going to want to talk to the software.
Everything's moving in the same and in the right direction to a certain extent, which we haven't seen in a while. Everything's kind of coming back to a little bit of a normalcy. And then, of course, we have geopolitical developments that might challenge that.
It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. If you buy, sell, manufacture, import, distribute industrial threaded fasteners, well, this is the podcast for you. Thanks for clicking in, everyone. Eric Dudas with you, coming to you from semi-rural Northeast Ohio as usual. And the co-host of Fully Threaded is with us as well. He's lifetime honorary Texan and well-known code slinger, Brian Musker. Hey, Bri, you doing all right?
I'm doing fine, thanks. And you forgot to mention that I was from very suburban, western Chicago suburbs, and I've managed to finally get my head out of my screen and luxuriate in releasing a much updated search engine for FCH, and that involved all sorts of things. Dealing with Claude on one screen and ChatGPT 5 on the other.
Yeah, you're a pro jock, man. You're managing those two back and forth, ping-ponging as needed, and just keep doing what you're doing, man, because I was out there banging around in the new search interface. FCH has been upgraded using some of your handiwork, and very impressive. Good job.
Yep, it is. Well, it's been in the making. Sounds sort of crazy for nearly a year.
Things are changing really fast, but on the other hand, they still take time, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Well, longtime listeners know full well, Bri, that you're out there in the Chicago suburbs, but I should have kept in mind we have a lot of new folks coming on. Hey, welcome aboard if you're newer to the podcast. Bri, I think the combination of that last article we had in Link Magazine where we talked about the podcast, as well as our connections with the IFI lately, are really expanding the listening audience, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it's good.
So glad to have you on board, everyone. This is episode 225 of the podcast. We'll be publishing this time about March 12th, 2026, and it's absolutely jammed. Hopefully, we're not going to be too heavily weighted with AI talk on this one, but let's face it, folks, something big is coming, something big has happened. That's our theme today, and by big, we mean it could be real big.
Well, there's lots of big things, actually, Eric. You could talk about AI, and you could talk about a lot of work that went into our search engine. It's over the years. And you could talk about the price of gas. There's huge things happening everywhere.
Yes, that's excellent lead-in, Bri, because the world is stacked with big things right now, isn't it? And we're going to launch off today with a conversation with Jason Baines with J. Lanfranco. Now, Brian, as you full well know, Jason's about one of the most soft-spoken, easy to get along with guys there is, right?
Yeah, especially if you cruise by his booth at the show.
Well, that's true, but really anywhere you meet him, he's always a very congenial guy. And, let's face it, most Canadians are like that. They're very gentle people, by and large, easy to get along with. Well, I kind of, he was a good sport about it, but I guess I kind of T-boned him this time by asking him on his view of, well, the last episode where we talked about CBAM, but also the Supreme Court ruling on tariffs and how he sees that impacting everything. And then just to make matters even worse, I queried him on his thoughts on I guess we're calling it a war that's going on right now in the Middle East.
Good. Next thing you'll be trying to discuss religion with him, okay?
Well, I didn't take it that far, although we did touch on our hens, our chicken raising, which is pretty much like a religion to some people. Anyway, that's how we get into this episode today. And along that same theme, our feature is a conversation with Ian Heller of Distribution Strategy Group. He's also one of the masterminds behind the Applied AI for Distributors conference happening in June, which we'll touch on. But we framed the conversation out with an essay that came out recently, which really rocked the AI world. And, well, you'll hear for yourself. But no matter how you're thinking about the impact of AI on the world right now, this conversation has something for you. Here's a hint. We talk about what jobs are going to be eliminated first if some of these things come to pass, which may or may not have already reached the tipping point. Clearly, Brian still has his job using AI, so...
Yeah, so you can work with them, okay? They're not going to be taking some of these jobs away anytime in the immediate future, in my mind, but they can certainly help you.
Well, we're off to the races, so we'll see. On the Fastener News Report, perhaps a little more mundane, but very exciting to most Fastener folks. Mike McNulty's got Würth Industry USA Director Chapman Revercomb with him. And they take a look at the February FDI numbers, which were solid, and there was a very unusual alignment this month. And if you're wondering how the market is reacting to all of the tumult out there, they throw that into the conversation as well. Plus, don't miss McNulty's back page report today. He decided to go way off the AI reservation on us and throw in one of his patented rants about the national debt. So,
oh, good. He and I are very much aligned with this.
Good old-fashioned political griping always comes in handy, when you're drowning in all this AI morass.
I know.
And do you handle rigging hardware, chains, lifting hooks, and that stuff? Well, on the Fastener Training Minute today, Carmen Vertullo is going to take a look at that subject and specifically the risks associated with it. He's definitely got some thoughts you're going to want to know if you're concerned about the liabilities connected with rigging hardware. That's the Fastener Training Minute. Handing off to McNulty today, Blanca Delgado, Fastener Fair USA manager, gives a preview of this year's event, which is going to be kicked off, it turns out, Bri, by a pickleball tournament sponsored by the FIC. Did you hear about this?
No, I haven't, surprisingly.
I'm surprised you and Lynn are not pickleballers. You seem like you have the perfect demographics for it.
No, I gave up anything that looked like tennis when I couldn't play tennis with my mother, who was represented New Zealand at tennis. And so you couldn't, as a teenager, you couldn't possibly play anything that you were beaten by your parents at continuously.
Okay, so it's like a deep emotional wound kind of a thing for you.
Very, very deep.
Okay.
And very unpleasant.
All right. Well, I heard they have a lot of signups already, so I guess they'll be all right without you. But some of our listeners may be interested.
I can watch. I'm good at watching tennis or pickleball.
Well, you like real estate, and fortunately, Marco Rodriguez is back with the Cressa Real Estate Update. He's going to take a look at the pros and cons of locating your facility near a shipping hub. I didn't know there were any cons to that, Bri.
Yeah, well, traffic jams, I guess.
We'll find out. All right, there's a lot to jam in.
Yeah.
And now let's hat tip the partners who make it all possible. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Brighton Best International, Tested, Tried, True, Brighton Best, and Star Stainless. Right off the shelf, it's Star. Fully Threaded Radio is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, Global Fasteners, InSequel Software, J. Lanfranco, MW Components, Solution Industries, Cressa, Fastener Fair USA, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Würth Industry USA. The email address for the podcast, ftr@fullythreaded.com. Brian and I are out there on LinkedIn. If you want to DM us, fire away.
Eric's there a little more frequently than I am, okay?
Well, that's true. But in this coming agentic AI age, you may have your avatar out there and we'll never know the difference.
I know.
You can do that now, Bri.
So we learn. Yes.
Well, all right. We've already established that you're not going to be playing pickleball. However, tough mudding might be more up your alley. I don't know. We don't have to get a commitment one way or the other. I know you're on the fence this year, Bri. You had a heroic outing last year, and it was also a little traumatic. So we won't put you on the spot here. But for everybody else listening,
sign up.
That's right.
Hey, if I can do it, anyone less than 100 can do it, okay?
It's August 29th this year in Chicago. Actually, it's outside of Chicago, but it's happening in connection with the MWFA Fastener Week, which is going to be a huge one this time because it's the 80th anniversary. They're going to have this over-the-top event happening at Navy Pier. But that's not what we're promoting directly here. We're really saying get out there and look at toughmudder.com and check out the website to get yourself jazzed up about this. And this goes for everybody at Field Fastener too, by the way, Bri. I think they only had like 30 or 40 people from their office out there last year. So we need a few more.
And I might tell you, I was very thankful they were there because I got help from a number of people, some from Field too.
Without Field Fastener, Brian, that might not have made it through the Tough Mudder event.
This is quite possible, yeah. Or I'd still be finishing.
There were a lot of people helping each other out on that course. It's a wonderful event. Bob GQ Bear, I guess, is still the chairman of this thing, although he's trying to phase out, but I know you can get in touch with him. I think we'll close in on 50 people going this year, Bri. We may actually have to do 2 waves. That's my suggestion. One of maybe the people who want to take a slower pace and the others who want to go more aggressive. I don't know. But one way or another, whether we do it that way or we go the traditional way, all in one giant pack of threaded lunatics, the tough nutters or rugged nuts or whatever we're calling ourselves this year, we'll be glad to have you on the team.
And you'll have fun when you sit back and look at it.
Again, this year, it's happening August 29th, and that is the Saturday before Fastener Week, which is when all the events happen. Well, regardless of whether you're doing the mudder this year or not, Bri, you guys, you and Lynn, you train like beasts. I sure was glad to check out your new gym with you when I was there a couple of weeks ago. That was an awesome facility.
Yeah, and it's actually sort of very timely because our previous gym that you actually introduced me to 7 years ago finally closed down. And so we've been sort of just bouncing around the place, not very happy with anything. And then they announced they're going to open a new gym crowd called Crunch Fitness, just, I don't know, a quarter of a mile away. So it's very convenient.
I guess it's a pretty well-known chain. That was the first one that I ever went into, but it's extremely well equipped. It's, of course, brand new. And one of the cool things was that you've got that training room off to the side with all the different apparatus in it, including this giant monkey bars. And I had not done a monkey bars in many, many years. I kept hoping that that was going to be something offered in the Tough Mudder, but it never has been. So I jumped up on that thing and it was pretty cool. I made it across the whole thing, and it's got to be 40 feet across.
Yes, well, I didn't, as you'll notice. I sat and watched, okay? I think my days of dealing with monkey bars finished at primary school.
Of course, if you had a couple of Field Fasteners guys there, you would have been right across it.
Yeah, right.
Well, I grew up with all that stuff. You were playing cricket and chasing sheep around, weren't you?
And playing rugby, okay? That was we had 2 compulsory sports. No mother's letter could let you off them. You had to play cricket and you had to play rugby. And in true British style, there was no choice that you might be even interested in soccer or football. That just wasn't a possibility.
Now, since your gym is new, it won't be like the old place. Remember, one of your favorite pastimes there was walking around and picking up cap screws all around, laying around the equipment.
Yeah, as it was all falling apart. You're right. Right, that is true.
You take a giant hex nut or something up to the desk and say, yeah, this was laying over there by the Smith machine, and they just give you this kind of cross-eyed look.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. And not even interested. Think, hey, this thing could fall apart. Okay.
Yeah, I seem to remember you kind of reassembling the leg press one time years ago. Well, there's another reason to stick with free weights. That's all I got to say.
True.
Anyway, keep on training, Bri. Keep taking Lynn with you, whether or not you're going to do the mutter or not. I recommend everyone do that, especially since we've got all these eating opportunities coming up.
Yes.
Fastener Fair Brisket Fest, another one. I've been thinking a lot about that. I was talking with Tony Martinez the other day. He's going to be doing a pork shoulder with us this time.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, he's quite excited to be one of the pit masters this year.
Good. Yeah, Tony normally does his cooking at home and then brings it along.
Well, I told him to get there in the pit with us this year. I think he's going to do it.
Good.
Mm-hmm. A lot of things going on with him, of course. He's got the 2 youngins. He's got all kinds of stuff going on at Buckeye. Of course, they're longtime partners with the Fully Threaded Radio podcast.
Very.
And lots going on at Buckeye, too, including the fact that customers are looking for transparency, better data access, and stronger partnerships. Buckeye's responding by rolling out more digital tools like part number search features, certification portals, self-serve documentation, all while meeting growing demand for domestically made components. And he's super jazzed right now with Buckeye's new line, their U.S. manufactured hex nuts in grade 5 and grade 8 Buckeye fasteners. See how I snuck that dry read in there, Bri?
Yeah, I did, actually.
No, Tony's dry rub made me think of it.
Right.
And we got to jam stuff however we can. We got a lot to jam in on this episode of Fully Threaded Radio. Sure do appreciate you joining us, folks. We'll hear from a couple of our other partners quickly here. Come back to you in just a minute to put a wrench to this one. It's Fully Threaded
Radio.
These guys aren't screwing around much. Brian and Eric, Fully Threaded Radio, Internet Talk Radio for the fastener industry.
Hi, I'm Linda from LindFast, the mom of this big, hardworking family. Most folks know us as LindFast Solutions Group, but did you know we also have a full LindFast manufacturing group behind the scenes? At Big Bolt and Mega Fasteners, our team is forging American-made strength every single day. From structural bolts to specialty fasteners built for the toughest jobs. And with Delta Secondary, we add precision finishing and customization that takes every product to the next level. When you need domestic manufacturing, real capacity, and more solutions under one roof, my family has you covered. LindFast Solutions Group and LindFast Manufacturing Group, American-made strength. One family, endless solutions.
Hello, my fastener amigos. This is Jake Valdez Davis with BTM Manufacturing. During our trade show off season, I found myself navigating the hills of Costa Rica in search of the perfect coffee beans. Just like BTM Manufacturing's commitment to service, finding the right beans matters, especially for our industry favorite U-bolt blend coffee. Whether it's domestic bent wire parts like anchor bolts, U-bolts, single end or double end studs, or great coffee, you can count on BTM to do everything on our end to deliver the absolute best. BTM Manufacturing, a commitment to service.
Brighton Best International now offers a wide variety of aluminum fasteners available from stock, including hex cap screws, nuts, washers, and riveting products. Aluminum delivers key performance advantages. It's lightweight at roughly 1/3 the weight of steel, corrosion resistant, non-magnetic, and offers excellent electrical and thermal conductivity. Major industries include automotive and EV manufacturing, marine, construction, electronics enclosures, and renewable energy systems. Aluminum fasteners help reduce overall system weight, lower fuel and energy consumption, and decrease life cycle maintenance costs. Recyclable and sustainable, they support today's environmental goals. Visit brightonbest.com for all your fastener needs.
Hi, this is Rob Big Country Reynolds of NSQL Software, coming to you from the 19th hole, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Holy cow, did you see all those source finders come in yesterday? Wow.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a flurry. Hopefully some good sales were made. It's a nice piece of the FCH sourcing network, the Source Finder RFQ system.
Right. And about to be a little bit enhanced, actually. Oh, no, you can't say. Sorry.
Don't give that away yet.
Okay, you can cut that out.
Brian and Eric back with you. Going to jump pretty quickly into this conversation with Jason Baines. Just want to make sure you heard about a couple of upcoming events here. Saw a post fly by from Nancy Rich, who is still with the Southeastern Fastener Association.
Cool.
Many of you know her mostly from her many years at the MWFA, but she's still running CFA, and she said registration for the CFA Spring Conference, which is happening April 28th through the 30th in Greenville, South Carolina, is now open. They've got their usual mix of information sessions, social events, golf, and more. Get out to thecfa.com for more info on that. Say hi to Nancy for us. I haven't seen her in quite a while, Bri.
Yep, she did a great job. Very friendly.
She knows her stuff. And the NFDA has their annual meeting and ESPS sessions coming up. This time in Indianapolis at the Westin Hotel. That's happening June 17th through the 19th. We've talked about those ESPS sessions many times on the podcast, Bri, and it's kind of a unique thing in the industry where you can sign up to speak to industry partners or potential partners on a one-on-one basis in private or semi-private, however they have it set up this year. Spend some high bandwidth time with them, get to know them, and then all the social and conference sessions that go on around that make it into a really worthwhile event. Again, this year happening in Indy, centrally located. They should have pretty good attendance for this.
I would think, yeah.
Ed Smith is the president of the NFDA currently. Be good to see him polishing up those MC skills.
I'm not sure he needs to polish them too much. Okay.
I don't know that I've seen him run a meeting yet, to tell you the truth. Talked to him many times. I don't know if I've ever seen him running a meeting. I'm sure he does a good job. You know, Brian, I think it was at one of the annual meetings many years ago that I met Mark Lenart. He was an attorney. Does that name ring a bell to you at all?
No, it does not.
Well, during that time, the countervailing duties on threaded rod was the big buzz. Remember that hubbub?
Yeah.
There was all that dumping going on, or alleged dumping.
Right.
The NFDA brought in Mark Lenart as their consultant on all that. He was presenting. Well, I ran across his name again when they announced the Supreme Court overturning part of the tariff stuff. Right away when I saw it whiz by, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Right.
Anyway, he posted out on LinkedIn, I guess it was. It could have been Twitter, but I pasted this in my notes. He said, "Let the refund suits begin. U.S. Supreme Court strikes down Trump's, quote, trade imbalance tariffs on every country in the world as an unlawful exercise of legislative branch powers. All trade agreements, quote, negotiated with the tariff gun to the other countries' heads are now likely invalid." So says Mark Lenart.
Right. Well, there's a whole lot of opinions going in the same vein as that, actually. So we all knew that was going to be the 800-pound gorilla in the corner was what do you do with the money? And even though we've all been told countless times that the overseas people are paying all the money, we know from talks with our buddy from Kerr Lakeside that he has to pay the money, the levies on his new equipment.
Right, among others. Well,
yeah, you're right.
The fastener industry knows a little bit different. And as mentioned previously, Jason Baines with J. Lanfranco has his thoughts on that subject too.
Right.
Let's get to that conversation now.
All right.
All right, I've got Jason Baines with me once again from J. Lanfranco, Mission Critical Bolting Solutions. Most of you know him well. Hi, Jason.
Hey, how's it going, Eric?
It's going okay. It's a tumultuous world at the moment, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. I know you know the feeling much more than I do, probably, but thanks for being here.
Pleasure as always. Long overdue. Happy to chat it up with you.
Well, you are overdue, but I always feel that way when I talk to you, Jason, because we always have so much to talk about. But actually, you and Hans Fuller from Fuller Metric were on, just a couple episodes ago. It seems like we were talking about the tariffs and everything. We were waiting for a Supreme Court ruling, and we thought that might have some impact on everything. But I decided since that dropped, so much else has happened in the interim, and have you back, we could catch up.
Yeah, it seems just like yesterday. You, me, and Hans had a quick chat, and I was actually down in Florida at the time. And since then, it's been a long, cold, snowy winter. And woke up this morning, and it's still very cold and still very snowy, and still lots of tariff stuff to deal with for Hans and I up here in the Great White North.
Right. Well, we're having a thaw down south of the border, but other than that, it sounds like it's pretty much the same. Well, lots of things going on. What I want to line up with you right now is on the tariff issue, but we got a couple other biggies too. And maybe before we jump into that, let me ask you this. Did you happen to catch the previous episode on CBAM? Because you're one of these guys who's got a foot in Europe, and a lot of our guys aren't set up that way. So how's this hitting you?
So for us, we've been, you're correct. We like to have exposure to all of the areas that that can have adventures with them. So, U.S. side, Canadian side with tariffs up here, tariffs in the U.S., and yes, with CBAM in Europe. We've got a large factory in France. And for us, it's maybe been, I don't want to say any less onerous than anyone else, but because we're set up there and so well integrated, we saw this coming for a long, long time. It's an administrative burden, and we've been implementing along the way. So on my end, as I was listening to your CBAM conversation, I started breaking out into a cold sweat and having some flashbacks. And then I hit pause and actually called my guys on the other side of the pond and said, I just want to make sure that you're not going to ask me to take this on. And thankfully, we've got some people employed full-time taking care of this. So in my day today, it's not a huge portion of what I do. We're very aware of it, but we've got at the factory, of course, this is something that everybody is watching, and it's the reality now. It's part of the landscape. And so I think we've talked about this before. I don't think there's any one hurdle that we take on and then resolve and we figure it's business as usual. I think our job today is to continually be able to remain agile and pivot. And this is just another one of those things that right now it's new. It'll take an adjustment. It's going to increase administrative tracking all of this, and it'll be quite cumbersome. But we'll find a way to get efficient and move on. End of the day, people still need fasteners and nuts and bolts and everything, and we'll find a way to fill those requirements.
Well, you're always the optimist. I mean, I'm with you on that, but we're going to just have to keep dancing to this music. Actually, you are bringing in the material from France in your case because you're fabricating it over there. You have been. So let me ask you this. Did you get any feel from your factory over there if they're going to be going with the default values or if they're doing the whole verification process or how they're actually going to establish what their rates are?
We work in all kinds of industries, and some of them are really going granular. So to answer your question, we have been and are going as granular as possible. It's being demanded of us, and we do have parts that go the other way that we send into Europe because the supply chain's international today. So there's some add-ons. We do some kitting over there, and they'll require things that we might grab here for them. So we're quite granular, more so than I thought would ever be possible. The question always comes up is I don't know ultimately what this changes. To be honest, that's my personal opinion. When we start getting down to an M2 lock nut, I don't know just how detailed we can get, but we're far more granular than I would have thought possible if you go back a few years. So luckily we've got folks way smarter and patient than me trying to track all of this down and keep it straight. But we don't have a choice in the matter. So I think we're just kind of plodding forward as best we can. But I think that it's a very relevant topic for everyone to discuss because it's a part of the landscape. And the more you know, the better informed you are. I remember when we overhauled all of our surface treatments 25 years ago, we started that. And we didn't know how we would get forward on all of it. This is obviously different, but we did and we adapted, and now it's just business as usual day to day. So maybe CBAM is going to be viewed the same. I don't think so today, and I don't want to offend anyone by suggesting that. But
you don't have to worry, Jason. Charlie already took care of that last episode. So I think listeners are cool with that. Hey, I don't want to beat CBAM to death. Frankly, many people are just sick of it or just bored to tears with it. But I will ask, since you are based in Canada, do you see any type of equivalent coming your way? Because as you know, Canada's usually a lot more, let's say Canada's more out front with those types of things than the US. So what do you see?
It's for sure, in terms of day-to-day implementation right now, we're not there. But this, Canada is going to align with Europe long-term on this. It would be my opinion, especially with the government we have today. It's one that tends to follow EU leads on some legislation, and so the short of it is, we'll have something like this eventually. It'll creep in. I don't know in terms of what that timeline looks like to have it fully implemented, but there's talks right now. There's some kind of parallel programs they want to get off the ground. In terms of our day to day, it's not a major a thing for us right now, but it'll creep in.
Right.
So
it is Canada.
It sure is. And Canada right now, with everything going on with the U.S. and whatnot, Canada's looking to increase trade partnerships with other jurisdictions. And of course, this will probably be worked in somewhere in some kind of an agreement with Europe. And I know that there's already some similar they talk about things like carbon pricing as well. We kind of align on different things, or I should say the government with Europe aligns on other things. So I don't have any doubt that we'll see something more formal as we go forward. And then, that'll be another thing for us to jump over, or another hoop to jump through.
Right. Yeah, good distinction, what you want versus what the government seems to want.
We're just along for the ride.
All right. Well, in other news on that same vein, let's hop over to tariffs. So again, you and Hans were on, and you were looking at what was happening between, I guess, the U.S. and Canada really at that point. But we were all holding our breath, waiting to see what the Supreme Court would do. Of course, they shot things down. What has the impact been for you guys, if any?
Well, I think for most people in the fastener industry, we're talking about reciprocal tariffs. We're not addressing the tariffs under Section 232. So right now, steel, aluminum, copper, I believe is still on, right? We're talking about the various tariffs under fentanyl, right? So, we're still going to have copper, aluminum, steel derivative tariffs going forward in the short term, which is all of our products, right? And I still think that the question of how it ultimately gets resolved is I don't think that's been answered. I think there's still going to be some form of tariff application, and I'm not waiting for any refund checks in the mail just yet. So I think in the short term, in the near term, I don't think there's a big change to the day-to-day business and, the tariffs under Section 232, and we still have our tariffs up here in Canada. So I think it's still a tariff landscape. That's kind of what has changed. I don't think a whole lot, to be honest, in our world.
Got it. You jumped ahead there with the rebate question, or refund, rebate, whatever you want to call it. And I think most people feel the same way. I don't see any refunds in sight.
No, I don't think so. But like going back to your question of tariffs in the Supreme Court, what happened up here is everybody was waiting on this, and they everybody thinks it's every single tariff that they ruled on, and that's not the case. So there's still tariffs in effect. We'll see where it all goes and how it'll be solved. I don't think the question's been answered yet. And I think part of the equation is, when the rubber hits the road, how are they going to look at potential refunds, right? That's another big question, whether we like it or not. How does the government refund everyone properly if that holds up? And I bet you that if ultimately majority of tariffs are suspended, I don't know how they would do it legally, but I can't imagine all of the money gets refunded. And on this, maybe I'm a cynic, right? So maybe I'm a cynic in that sense. I rarely see government give money back.
Well, cynic or realist, That's all right, Jason. You're entitled, You were telling me off mic, and I don't know if this is cool to talk about or not, but you were getting some fellow Canadian businesses up there sort of in alignment to react to all of this. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, what's happened up here is, we had this talk with you, Hans and I did, and generated some interest from fellow Canadian fastener distributors and importers. And we started to talk, and what we've realized since is the government up here did a terrible job of letting everybody know that these tariffs are in existence. And so what we've had to do is explain them to our customers, send out URLs to show them that this is legit. And even then, some customers are skeptical. And so we're having to show them real concrete proof that, yes, these tariffs are in effect, and everybody just can't believe it. So we started with a small group of us. We've written our local equivalent to a congressman or congresswoman in the U.S. We call them MPs, Member of Parliament. And we reached out to them. We got some traction, and we've been letter writing, and that letter writing has produced some decent results where we're in touch with some of the tariff policymakers, members of parliament at the federal level. And so we kind of have a very small group right now, and we're trying to organize across the industry in a more coordinated fashion to highlight to the government that I don't think that this has been fully thought through. There are some fasteners that are made within Canada, and likely you could make a carve out for those easier than you can with an across-the-board blanket. So really the message that we're seeing here is that with the 2-week implementation that they gave everyone, ultimately fastener importers and distributors are the ones affected, but the ones who pay the price and have the real impact on them are manufacturers who have had these critical, inputs increase 25% overnight, and they've got to compete internationally. And so they've been faced with a really tough decision. They can either risk market share or they have to operate on lower margins. And that's kind of counter to the general message of wanting to promote Canadian manufacturing right now. So we're trying to get that message out, look for a pause of at least 6 months so that there can be proper consultation and give people time to react and adjust supply chains if need be. But the fact is we don't have the manufacturing capacity here. We're well below even what the US is. So we'll see. But at the very least, I've made a bunch of new friends, getting to coordinate with a lot of smart people and experienced people. So Hans and I are on this, and we're forming this little group. And very soon, we think we're going to have kind of an official name and additional news, and we'll be super happy to share that with you. But I know what everyone's thinking. My God, Jason, you're getting to spend more time on the phone with Hans Fuller. It's true. And what Hans doesn't know is I've been secretly recording him, and I play that at night to fall asleep. He's if he ever put out a spoken word album, I would buy it. He's quite suave there, Mr. Fuller. So yeah, we've been chit-chatting. We've got some other folks that have jumped on with us. And look, at the end of the day, the important thing is always you're looking for your voice to be heard. And I don't know if we'll ultimately be successful, but that shouldn't be a reason not to try. And that's what we're doing. And in the meantime, like the whole theme of, I think, your conversation with everyone, whether it's CBAM or tariffs, various supply chain disruptors that are occurring right now, is we still have to get up and go to work and supply quality parts to customers. So business goes on, and everybody gets up and goes to work every day, puts their best foot forward. And the fact that people need parts doesn't change. You've got to get them the parts they need on time. And so the challenge remains the same. The obstacles have perhaps increased, but so we're just trying and yeah, a bunch of Canadian bolts and nuts people on a couple of calls, writing a few letters, and trying to stay out of trouble.
All right. Well, give them hell. Keep us posted on that. Speaking of supply chain disruptors, we've got a big one now, and this just broke over the weekend. Who knows where it'll go? Could be kind of a quick hit thing, but I doubt it. Could be a long, protracted situation resulting in who knows. But in the past, when we've had massive military action, as we just saw this past weekend, and I'm speaking now of the attacks on Iran, how is the fastener industry likely to react in your experience? You've been at it a long time, Jason Baines. What have you seen when things like this have happened? What do you expect we might see this time?
I mean, it's always different. When I first started, we had 9/11, then we had the housing meltdown, then COVID. Those would be the big three. Then the tariffs is number 4. We don't know. At some point, what will happen is there's always a pinch somewhere on the supply chain, unforeseen effects further down the supply chain that somebody hasn't identified, and it creates a pressure on supply. So, typically there's always opportunity. Like from a pure supply side, there'll be an opportunity somewhere for someone. If I had to guess, I mean, you're going to have oil be affected. So, if you're an API certified company and you've got inventory, you're probably somebody's going to be looking for parts and looking for a supplier. Hard to say. Yeah, I woke up and watched that all weekend. And I think, like I said, we always get up and go to work. But in the interim, you can't think of anything except, there's people in harm's way. And you hope that this thing is resolved quickly without a lot of loss of life. And you think about I know I have a lot of friends in the Iranian community up here in Canada. They're just hoping that family members are safe. And I think I guess I always go down to the human element, so we'll still get up and go to work. It's a really kind of a crazy time in the world, and you just hope and pray that the outcome is positive. And we won't know that for a long time. These things don't reveal themselves very quickly. So I think be patient, supportive, and come in and be ready to work. At the end of the day, we always do. So I think that there will always be an opportunity somewhere because there's going to be a supply chain disrupted. And again, your ability to react to this and fill that need, that's been set up, months or years ahead of time in terms of how you've scaled and structured yourself and what you have on the shelf. But normally that's how we've always found it. A big event happens, uncertainty, and later on there's then a pressure point and somebody needs something, and you're either in a position to supply and take advantage or not. And in the interim, just you watch the news and you just hope everything ends up okay, and that what the decisions being made are the right ones, but we won't know for a long time. So let's just sit tight and be patient and hope for the best, which is such a cliche thing to say. But I think those situations, that's all we can do, right? And so that's what we will do. And just keep coming in and doing the boring work of bolts and nuts and washers and all of the other fasteners.
You're right. It is a moment in time. What this point in history actually will come to mean, we won't know for quite a while. But thanks for the analysis. I know that it wasn't a very fair question. You did a good job with it. And I'll say this, Jason, you always bring it back to the human level. And that's the way I kind of think about things, too. I think that's probably why you and I get along so well together. What do you got coming up in the near term? Are you lining up to switch gears completely? Are you lining up your strongman competitions for the season, or what are you going to do for fun? Hopefully you're going to work some fishing into all that as well.
Yeah, for fun, it's been, right now it's, getting prepped for the Highland game season. It's been a good winter of lifting. I think with all of the tariff talk and everything going on,
a lot of steam to blow off.
I've had a lot of steam to blow off. Doing that, that'll be coming up, planning out the summer for competitions. There will be some fishing. There'll be some projects at the cottage, some projects at home. Gonna increase the quality of my chicken coop and up my game there for my hens. So that'll be another project. And then in terms of us as a company, we're we continue to be busy like everybody. So We brought on a general manager despite various headwinds. Looking to hire. We're looking at expanding up here in Canada and get some more space, and do the same in the U.S. And so continue to build. And we've got lots of travel coming up. More travel than I had realized. So I kind of say yes to everything, and now it's time to execute. So going to be a lot of frequent flyer miles being made, and we're doing a huge U.S. tour this year, and up here in Canada, we're basically going to be going coast to coast. So lots of travel, which is I always love doing that, getting out, meeting people, meeting customers on the ground. And we're going to be doing that from, southern U.S. all the way up to northern Ontario. And I love that. You talk, we do always go back to the human element, but every person I meet, I find that we have so much in common. And right now that brings me a lot of happiness and a lot of reassurance. We're so similar in so many ways. So I'm looking forward to getting out and seeing people. Your time is never lost connecting with people on the ground. And luckily in our industry, we've got so many awesome people. So yeah, I'll be everywhere. And when I go out to British Columbia in May, I've sectioned off an entire afternoon with Hans Fuller. I've booked the couples retreat at a local spa. We're going to get some TLC, and Hans and I'm sure by the end of that, we will have solved the Canadian fastener tariff issue.
Always the optimist. Way to go. Way to go.
Yeah, Hans doesn't know he's agreed to this, but if you're hearing it now, Hans, I've got us booked, okay?
I love it. All right. Well, I'm going to see you at Fastener Fair USA in Charlotte. I know that. Lanfranco.com is the website. We've been talking with Jason Baines. You reminded me that you're also a chicken keeper, and there's got to be a better term for that. But anyway, we got to do an unthreaded episode or something where we get a bunch of Fastener chicken people on one day and just forget about tariffs and CBAM and everything else and talk about our hens.
It's not a hobby. It's a lifestyle. When you got chickens, it's a lifestyle. So it's been a long, cold winter for them. Nobody's frozen yet. Touch wood. So yeah, I'd love to do that. Let's recruit some chicken stewards, as we could call ourselves, perhaps.
It's a deal. All right, Jason. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Precision, efficiency, durability. J. Lanfranco has been a trusted name for the finest lock nuts worldwide and across North America for over 40 years. J. Lanfranco keeps projects on track, on time, and on budget, providing self-locking lock nuts and critical bolting components for applications in aerospace, mining, industrial, and many other sectors where reliability and high performance are essential. Learn more about J. Lanfranco online at www.jlanfranco.com. And don't miss our booth at Fastener Fair USA. J. Lanfranco, lock nuts for critical bolted joints.
From thousands of in-stock fasteners, including NAS and MS hardware, to custom parts built to your specifications, MW Components delivers. With U.S. manufacturing across 8 locations, we offer cold heading, precision machining, fully custom solutions, and engineering support for challenging applications. From rapid prototyping to full production, we deliver the capabilities and skill for your most demanding needs. Learn more at mwcomponents.com/fasteners.
This is Marco Rodriguez from Cressa with your FTR Industrial Real Estate Update. If you're importing fasteners into Newark or Long Beach, you've likely operated under one golden rule for decades. Get as close to the port as possible. For a fastener distributor, weight isn't the enemy. Every mile a container of grade 8 bolts travels is $1 out of your pocket. In the industry, this is called drayage. That first critical leg of the supply chain where a truck hauls your container from the port to your warehouse. It sounds simple, but for heavy industrial goods, drayage is often the most volatile item on your P&L. However, that old rule is starting to rust. While national industrial vacancy has climbed to 9.6%, space immediately surrounding major ports remains structurally locked. In hubs like northern New Jersey or Houston, we aren't just seeing sticky rents, there's a proximity premium that can be 50 to 100% higher than inland alternatives. So if you're paying $18 per square foot in rent near the port just to save $500 off a drayage bill, the math is likely working against you. Let me explain. Many of you know trucking capacity is tightening and freight rates are forecasted for double-digit hikes. The instinct to shorten that drayage trip to keep fees down is understandable. But here's the calculation you need to run. Let's take an example of a 50,000 square foot building. In a port-adjacent submarket, you're likely looking at $18 to $22 per square foot in rent. If you move 60 miles inland, say from the port of New Jersey, New York to the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, or from Long Beach to the California Inland Empire, those rents drop by about $8. On 50,000 square feet, that's about a $400,000 annual savings in base rent alone. Taxes are generally also cheaper in inland markets. So ask your logistics VP, how many containers are we importing a year? Even if drayage costs spike by $400 per container due to the extra distance, you would need to bring in over 1,000 containers a year just to break even on the rent spread. If you're a mid-size importer bringing in 300 to 500 cans a year, you're essentially overpaying for this convenience. Another major consideration is that many port-adjacent buildings are vintage. They have lower clear heights, congested truck courts, and limited power availability. When you go inland, you aren't just getting cheaper buildings, you're often getting 36-foot clear heights that allow you to stack product higher and more efficiently. You're also getting slab PSIs that can actually handle high-density racking without cracking. In many cases, the operational efficiency of a modern inland building far offsets the extra 2 hours of transit time from the pier. So don't let legacy port-centric strategy blind you to the fact that urban landlords are finally facing competition from high-quality, lower-cost inland markets. My advice? Audit your total landed occupancy costs. If your rent-to-drayage ratio is out of whack, 2026 is the year to make your move. If you want to talk nuts and bolts or roofs and walls, I'm Marco Rodriguez from Cressa. You can find me on LinkedIn or email me at mrodriguez@cressa.com. As always, don't forget to pay your rent.
Looking for the latest innovations in fastener technology? Then mark your calendar for Fastener Fair USA, May 5th and 6th at the Charlotte Convention Center. Meet leading manufacturers, discover cutting-edge solutions, and connect with industry peers from across the supply chain. Kick things off at the opening night networking party at the iconic NASCAR Hall of Fame. Plus, you'll have access to the Aluminum Executive Summit, a 2-day program delivering actionable insights into aluminum market dynamics and strategic decision-making. Register now at FastenerFairUSA.com. We'll see you in Charlotte this May.
Hi, this is Darlene Collis of LindFast Solutions Group, Master Fastener Distributors and more, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
And it's the news segment, often regarded as the high point of the Fully Threaded Radio podcast. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Of course, the big news everybody's talking about, or a lot of people are, is tariffs. And I was just looking down the road at Fastener Fair USA, talking with Blanca Delgado. She is the show manager, and she was telling me that there are quite a few new manufacturers. Well, I guess they've been in business for a while, but they're new to Fastener Fair. They're coming on board. Blanca's here with us now to talk about that and what's going on this year for Fastener Fair USA in Charlotte. Hey, Blanca.
Hey, how are you?
I'm hanging in there. I don't, of course, have the fast-paced lifestyle of a trade show manager. Better question, how you doing?
Doing good. There's been a lot going on, so we're trying to get it all together and get it moving for May 5th and 6th for the show. We have a lot of stuff going on. I know we've been working with the Fastener Training Institute, and they're planning on having their Fastener Week at our event. So
yeah, that's great news.
Yeah, they start May 4th and they're going to go all the way till May 8th. So they'll be there for the full week. And hopefully that's going to help us with May 6th, the last day of the show, of people not leaving so early.
Always a good chance for folks to double dip and get their fastener certification while they're attending a fantastic trade event. We'll get to more details on that in just a second, Blanca. For my small part of helping you get these things organized, I've seen the emails flying fast and furious. Let's talk for a second about all these new exhibitors you were telling me about. I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, the domestic exhibitors have increased by like 16%. So we have a lot of new names, a lot of packaging, a lot of computer systems to make it easier for folks with their inventory and all that kind of good stuff. we see a lot more machinery is coming in to the show, and most of them are U.S. based. So it's kind of great to see.
So an expanded footprint, the Fastener Training Institute, and we haven't even gotten to the party or some of the other things that are going on. All right, I'm getting psyched. Once again, Fastener Fair USA, Charlotte, North Carolina, May 5th and 6th, 2026. That's what we're talking about here. You mentioned the Fastener Training Institute. How do people get signed up for this, since it's probably going to be a full class this time?
Yes. So there's two ways to sign up. One is to go onto our website. In our registration system, there is a link to go into the FTI website, or you can directly just register with them. Registering for the class also gives you free entrance to the show, and, networking parties separate, but at least you'll get into the show for free for both days too.
Excellente. That's FastenerFairUSA.com. I don't think we mentioned it. Cool. So when we get to Charlotte, we're all, of course, going to be looking forward to the welcome bash. Now, is that happening the day before, or is that after the first full day of the show? How do you guys work it?
The networking party happens the first day of the show after the show floor closes. So it's usually around 6:00. It's going to be at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, which is right around the corner from the convention center. So it's an easy walk over. It's close to all the hotels. And we have Optimus is our sponsor for our networking party this year. So it's really exciting to have them on board. I know they're going to have like some moonshine drinks that we can enjoy. And there's going to be a lot of different activities that you could do. There's a movie theater in there that kind of gives you the history of the NASCAR racing. And then some really, really cool cars to look at too.
Plus hundreds and hundreds of your Fastener friends wandering around.
Yes.
Anders Green included. You never know what he's going to do, Blanca. Especially if he gets a taste of that moonshine. I don't know. We better warn everyone about that.
Well, he is the party, so.
All right. So I knew we were going to touch on this. I looked it up. One of our good friends of the podcast, Würth Industry USA, is a major sponsor of NASCAR, unless things have changed. Car number 12, Ryan Blaney. Now, I know you're not a really huge NASCAR fan. Blanca, I'm not really either, but that's a pretty big deal, I would say, when you got your own car out there. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of Würth people at that party.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, there's still time. Maybe you should ask them if they want to drive their car out there for it.
Oh, watch yourself, Eric. Don't get yourself in trouble there.
Thank you for reining me in there. I'll take the advice of the show manager on that one. All right. Well, I'm going to have a good time anyway. Of course, Fastener Fair's become really the largest fully carpeted national fastener event every year. I'm looking forward to getting out there. What else do we need to know? Are there still some booths available? How about that?
There are still some booths available. You can contact me directly. You guys have my email address. It's blanca.delgado@rxglobal.com, or call me up. Either way, I could help you with your exhibiting spaces. We still only have a few left, so act now before they're all sold out.
Good advice. Again, FastenerFairUSA.com. Take care of a little business here. The Fastener News Report's coming up in a minute. Mike McNulty has Chapman Revercomb with NASCAR sponsor Würth Industry USA talking about the Fastener Distributor Index coming up in a minute. And the news segment is sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio, Brighton Best, and Star Stainless. Well, it goes without saying that I'm looking forward to Fastener Fair USA this year, Blanca. It'll be good to see you as always. And I don't know a lot about Charlotte. I have been there, but not for a long time. Same with Brian. But actually, Brian's never been there, he told me. So I looked it up a little bit. And as it turns out, Charlotte is known for its NASCAR. But here's a little trivia thing that stands out. It's the second most important banking city in the United States, which I would not have guessed.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
So no banking events apparently are tied into Fastener Fair this year. That's okay. I'll probably go around and sample some of the ATMs while I'm out there. You never know. There's another big piece of this we got to jam in here, Blanca. You were telling me that the Fastener Industry Coalition is doing something very different this year. They're having a pickleball tournament?
Yes, they're having a pickleball tournament. And their pickleball tournament is going to be the Monday before the show opens. So it's something to do right before you set up your booth and do all that kind of good stuff. Go in and get yourself a trophy and a pickleball tournament. Registration is, I think the FIC is going to have their own registration form that you fill out. We'll have a link on our website on how to do that. And I definitely think that that'll be something fun to do your first day in North Carolina.
Wow. I'm sure GQ and Kavoto are going to be all over that one. Very cool. Blanca Delgado, Fastener Fair USA show manager. Appreciate you being here. Now you're going to get your own chance to get into a little bit of trouble. Why don't you lay it on us, Blanca?
And now with news about screws you can use, here is Mike McNulty.
Thanks, Blanca. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored by Würth Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. By many measures, the 2026 Winter Olympics were a resounding success, especially for the host country, Italy, the overall medal champion, Norway, and the dramatic hockey gold medal game winners, the USA men and women. Additionally, by several measures, the past month was more eventful than usual for the USA's executive branch, highlighted by a tariff temper tantrum and a new war. But I am still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, Würth Industry USA Managing Director and President Chapman Revercomb joins us to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on MW Industries, plus newsmaker headlines from Howmet Aerospace, Olander, Gobel Fasteners, Fabory, Birmingham Fasteners, Century Fasteners, Linfast Solutions, and more. On the back page report, we're going to talk about the USA's national debt. We'll get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
Hi, this is Heidi Voltrauer with Würth Industrial Plastics, and there are 4 things that separate us from the rest. There is a difference: competitive pricing, fast lead times and delivery, no minimum quantity orders, and our customer service is above the rest. With a heritage of growth and hard work, Würth Industrial Plastics is committed to our customers and our future. You are valued. We take pride in our company and the products we manufacture. We welcome every opportunity to put our experience, technical expertise, and rapid response production capabilities to work for you. Contact a member of our friendly, knowledgeable sales team today to find out how we can help. You know the website, voltplastics.com. And come see us at Fastener Fair USA in Charlotte.
Downtime and inventory surprises cost time and money and pull focus from what matters most. Würth Industry builds inventory management programs tailored to your operation. The results? Lower total cost of ownership, predictable material availability, higher uptime, faster replenishment, and safer, more organized facilities. With fewer escalation, less firefighting, and clear accountability, companies run smarter and operate with confidence. Visit WürthIndustry.com today.
You're listening to Mike McNulty's Fastener News Report on Fully Threaded Radio.
The seasonally adjusted Fastener Distributor Index for February 2026 inched up to 52.7 after posting a reading of 52.0 in January, seasonally adjusted. The forward-looking indicator, also known as the FLI, dropped to 52.2 after the excellent result of 54.0 in January. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight into these results, we're going to talk to Würth Industry USA Managing Director and President, Chapman Revercomb. Hi, Chapman. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
You're welcome. It's good to have you back. I think the last time you were here was in right at the beginning of the summer of 2025.
That seems right. I got my headphones charged up, ready for battle.
So now we're in the back end of winter, inching into spring. And what do you think of the latest FDI results?
Honestly, I think it's it's really interesting to see everything sort of pointing in the same direction, and it matches what we're seeing at, kind of where the rubber meets the road at the individual business level, talking to customers and seeing what we're doing. So we're cautiously optimistic that things will stay stable and expand here over the next few months. And it looks like that's a pretty widespread sentiment out there.
Now, one thing I want to give a note to the listeners that a good portion of these results, the survey results, came in before the activities in the Middle East, and some came in afterwards. And when we get to the comments, you'll see that nobody really makes any allusions to the war that's going on. So I don't know if that changes things, but we're just going to report on what we have here. So like we said, it was we had 52.7 on the FDI and 52.2 on the FLI. So if we get into the numbers, the details of the FDI, we had sales, customer inventories, and pricing all went up, and employment, deliveries, and respondent inventories all dropped. What does that tell you?
It actually makes me even a little bit more optimistic, with the exception of the employment piece, because I think the sales going up at a rapid level is, it's easy to get excited about. You have to be a little cautious when just looking at sales when you think about all the different pricing impacts we've had over the last however many months. So we really watch the activity metrics as much as sales at this point, down to the customer level. And it also supports, that high growing faster sentiment from the survey. So I think that's an accurate reflection, not just maybe call it the inflation sentiment there to see the sales growth. But I don't think that's the only story now, which is a positive thing. And that obviously tends to go hand in hand with the inventories topic. When activity's up a little bit, sometimes inventory tends to lag, and it's not always a good score, but I think it's underlying shows some strength in the markets that we support. So I think it's really interesting. Everything's moving in the same and in the right direction to a certain extent, which we haven't seen in a while. Everything's kind of coming back to a little bit of a normalcy. And then, of course, we have geopolitical developments that might challenge that. But
Right. My first reaction when I saw the numbers, things were kind of balancing out, like kind of smoothing out a little bit.
Yeah, it seems to be setting a bit of a baseline that everyone can react to really across the board. And hopefully that will remain. And I think we'll deal with the inventory pressure and the supplier delivery pressure as just activity out there builds. But hopefully it remains just a normal supply and demand issue and not a larger challenge.
The other big number, I'm going to bring it up now, is the ISM PMI, and it stayed strong, and it dipped a little bit to 52.4 versus 52.6 in January. That was the second straight month above 50, and only the last two times in the last year that it's been above 50. So that's a good sign too, I think.
Yep, 100%. And it's really, I think, all the stars align when you see all the different indices pointing in the right direction, and seeing that PMI in that, maybe it's up a little bit, down a little bit compared to the FDI, but to see that same trend continues, like we were mentioning earlier, another sign of consensus and a good consensus on a positive direction.
I've been doing these reports for a long time. I can't remember any time that these three numbers were all the first same two of 52. Don't know what that means, but that's just something I noticed.
Well, at least they're consistent. And at least they're positive.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into the 6-month outlook, which doesn't have the number 52 in it, but it says the 6-month outlook increased on the high and low end of the responses. We had 55% expecting things to be better in 6 months, 24% expecting them to be worse, and 24% expecting them to be the same, and then 21% expecting it to be worse, compared to 50, 35, and 15 last month. So we went up on the high end, and we went up on the bad end, and then went down in the middle. So the curve got a little flat, or I don't know.
Yep. Well, I think that makes sense, to be honest. When I was reading the review prior to this call, when you take a step back and look at the last few years, everything's kind of moved the same across the broader market. And now we seem to be returning towards a little bit more normal state where certain industries are just seeing a more distinct trends versus everybody busy or everybody slow. So I would attribute a lot of that spread down to individual markets, whether geographical or in customer there. And it makes perfect sense because not everyone is experiencing the same level of demand or activity in their markets. But as always, I'm optimistic. So I'm happy to see that the higher with the higher expectation, people are busier than others. But we see that across a broad customer base from the worst side that, in 21, 22, even 23, everybody went the same direction. And we're not seeing that now. We're seeing a little bit more historical, trend where different parts of the economy and the industrial economy are moving in a little bit different ways, which is, I think, a more historically stable way of things going. And it doesn't put as much pressure on that whole, entire supply chain. So I think it makes really good sense, actually, that you kind of have haves and have-nots out there based on customer base and geography. And
people in the tough areas are being exposed.
Yep. Or maybe their time's coming soon.
Or prompt them to do something different. So good. Well, anything else you want to add on the numbers before we move into the commentary part?
Look through my notes. I think we covered it pretty well. The one thing everyone's going to have to watch and be prepared for is that inventory topic, because as things, if we continue to see the expansion, the inventory and supply chains will become compressed. And we'll see if all the work everyone did to learn from the last expansionary period we saw will help make it through the next one, all the way up that value chain. We saw more people focusing on forecasting and managing their data in that area over the last couple of years than we probably had seen for a long time. And it'll be fun to watch the results of that and make sure we take advantage of those efforts.
All right, good. Well, overall, we got a lot of comments this month, and respondent commentary in February was mixed as tariff and policy-driven uncertainty continues to weigh in on people's sentiment. So the first, I'm going to go through these comments, and anytime you want to jump in just with some of your own commentary, feel free to do so. So the first one is, sales have remained high for the first 2 months of 2026, continuing the strong sales we experienced in the fourth quarter of 2025. And the next one is, February was a good month. Our inventory is up, but our incoming order rate was 17% higher than January. It's always nice to start the year with a lead.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to it sounds like this commenter is sort of on the same track we are, is looking at more than just the top line impact, just because there's a lot of variation in the numbers before the previous year. But when you start looking at line counts and incoming orders and all the activity comparators we have, it seems pretty strong right now.
Good. So the next one does mention top line. It says sales momentum continues to build. Top line sales dollars are growing faster than bookings. Margin growth percentage is smaller than top line sales.
Yeah, so maybe a little more tariff effect for that commentary.
Yeah. Cost of goods sold. Next comment. February, a shorter month in our daily average, that's a good point, was equal to January. Not hearing much from customers so far other than expect the year to be similar to 2025. And the next one says, regardless of what I read in the papers or hear on the radio, demand for fasteners in the USA is very strong for our business. Going to continue to ride it out as long as we can.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to the earlier comments. It seems to be a little bit different experience for different entities depending on who they're supporting and who they're close to.
Yeah, the next one kind of reinforces that. Still bullish on USA-made parts. And then here's one that touches on geography. Things are rapidly slowing down here in the South. Our vendors are complaining, our customers are complaining, and now we're complaining. The housing market, which was red hot here in Florida, is grinding to a halt and turning into a buyer's market again for the first time in a while, end quote. Definitely geographic.
Yeah, and market. I think there's plenty of activity in a positive way in Florida, but when you start looking into that specific kind of segment of the market, housing and light construction there, for sure it's different challenges than other areas.
Yeah, and it's been a seller's market for so long everywhere. It's got to eventually flip around.
Yeah.
Okay, next comment. We're coming into tariffs now. Latest tariff issues are frustrating. No need to focus on growth and customer relationships. Need to focus on growth and customer relationships, not tariff roller coaster. And we've got another tariff one, ongoing uncertainty with tariff calculations. Add to that the thought of applying for refunds now that IEEPA has been deemed illegal. Business slowed a bit in February compared to January. And I'll drop in another tariff one. Meanwhile, the first batch of tariffs, which the Supreme Court of the United States widely struck down, has been replaced with new, equally illegal tariffs. Uncertainty is always bad for business. That's a bipartisan statement right there, end quote. So you got 3 tariff ones to think about.
Well, we'll try not to hit any partisan fastballs down the middle of the plate. And But I certainly agree that the uncertainty around such an important topic is a lot for everyone to work through, whether it's us, the supply base, the distributor community, the end users, OEMs, down to the consumer. It certainly makes things a little more challenging to know where you stand and what the future might hold and what is the right decision. But I think that from a distributor standpoint, the main thing we can do is just try to be transparent and fair. And that way it gives you a little flexibility to work through these things with your customer base when you're not trying to slide something in there, or when you're able to do it in an organized way. And that's at least been our approach. And it's been, not every discussion about tariffs with the customer is a great one, but at least when you have a change and you're transparent with it, you're able to recalibrate and sit down and make the necessary adjustments and focus on what really matters, which is delivering value to the customer, not making sure that our tariff codes and the associated import duties match up with how we're then pricing to the customer base.
And then we have to deal with the potential refunds too.
Yep, that'll be nightmare. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Teams calls to come in the next few months about that one.
A lot more unproductive activity. Anyways, yeah, it's definitely a lot going on there. So it sounds like you've had a good approach on that. So we've got one more comment, and it's not tariff related. It says we have a heavy mix of stainless products and prices are trending higher. Automotive pressure to move from Taiwan to the USA is a difficult task and a waste of resources in most cases. That's industry specific.
It is. I'm not, without knowing exactly the topic there, I would say that it maybe is a little bit tariff affected or at least geopolitically driven topic with the Taiwan comments and the tariffs, and trying to build a supply chain that was moving in a different direction for many, many years. It's never easy.
Right. It's not like flipping a switch to get, just get them from somewhere else here,
Especially when you get into certain product ranges that have been heavily, commodity price driven, like a stainless situation. So I can see that being a frustrating exercise but you don't know until you do the evaluation.
All right. Well, that's it for the comments. So I had quite a big range there. And then if you've got anything else you want to add on the commentary, if not, we can move into the segment where you can tell listeners what's going on at Würth Industry USA.
Cool. I have the only kind of commentary I would add is just going back to the inventory and sales pressure topics from above. I think no one likes chasing parts and dealing with inventory challenges, but that's also a huge part of our value proposition and value add to the overall supply chain as a distributor, is to make sure that we're bridging those gaps and trying to insulate the industrial economy from that as much as possible. So while it might be a challenge or not a bright spot on the indices front, at least from a import distributor standpoint, we see that as an opportunity for us to showcase our value.
And to have what people need.
Yeah, and make sure they realize why they need us, and what we add to the overall, value creation chain for people making things in America. It's an opportunity.
That sounds good to me. All right, so what else is, what's new at Würth Industry USA?
That's a loaded question. Seems like something every day. But no, I mean, we just are excited and optimistic about the future in our customer base. We have a really diverse and great customer base, so we get to see a little bit of everything and geographically as well. So we're very bullish about the next months and years ahead from a just general activity standpoint, and also about a lot of the work that we've done to organize our business to support the customer expectations in a good way, that we'll see that pay off, as well as a lot of the investments we've made over the last several years in facilities and systems and teams to support growth with different customer types. So we're feeling very good about a lot of hard work over the last several years coming together at a really good time to match what our customers need. And going back to the inventory and how do we add value, we feel we're very well positioned. When the pendulum swings for an extended period, that we're going to be very well positioned to support our customers during that period. And obviously, we always like to increase market share and do a nice job for our customers.
Yeah, assuming you guys got a lot going on, and I was looking at your LinkedIn page. You got a lot of video content here with the Worth Knowing series and different things. There's even, I know Eric would like this. There's a thing on hydrogen embrittlement and electroplating. So there's a lot of technology in what you guys do too. You got the good relationships and the value added and the inventory and everything, but you also got a good technical base, it looks like.
Yeah, and of course I have to say it, but I feel that from a quality and reliable processes and systems, that's really where we see ourselves as best in class and a market leader. Somebody might be a couple pennies cheaper than we will on hardware for sure, but when it comes down to overall just reliability and dependability as a supply chain partner, that's where we want to be the best. We don't want to be the cheapest, we don't want to be the most expensive, but we want our total value and the total cost we deliver to our customers to be really, really high. And that's something we've been focused on for decades, but we've really tried to make sure over the last few years, especially on the brand and marketing side, that we're able to kind of convey that knowledge base and the efforts we've put in that area out to the general market. So it's really good to hear that, like, the worth knowing and the hydrogen embrittlement topics near and dear to us. But that some of these quick hits that, we want to help everyone understand HE and how important that is, but also just to make sure they know that we're focused on those type of topics as a business. It's really, really good. So that's a very nice thing to hear.
Yeah. I mean, it is a technical industry. A lot of, you can say, oh, it's commodity and it's just buying and selling, but there's a lot of technology in the background in fasteners.
Yep. Well, a part that's measured in the dollars by thousands can ruin your life pretty quickly if it doesn't work. So we try to make sure that we insulate our customer base from those type of risks as much as possible.
Good. Anything else you want to add?
I think we've covered a lot of it today. I mean, we're really focused on our customer base right now as a business. And that's, I think, looking at the indices and the reality of what we see day to day, it's the absolute right time to make sure that we're ready and positioned really across the whole industry, but to be there and support our customers who, as an OEM distributor, I mean, without hardware there, the right parts and the right time, it's going to be awfully hard for people to make things in this country. And it's a really important time to see that. Maybe we're looking at a bit of a renaissance on that area coming up here. So we need to be positioned to support it. And I think we across the whole industry, or even down to the supply base, are up to that challenge. And now it's kind of time to make it happen.
Yeah, I just want to jump back to the technology for a minute. I just recalled as we were talking there that I saw a story last month that you guys continued your sustaining sponsorship with the Fastener Training Institute. That's the 8th year in a row. So congratulations on that, and that ties into the technology and the training thing. So I think good job there.
Oh yeah, it's super important. I mean, unless someone else has found one, if so, I'd love to hear about it. I don't think there's like a college out there or a graduate degree where you come out of there ready to be able to support. I mean, sure, I guess you could make the argument that mechanical engineers are there, but the stuff we see from that community would dictate that there's still an opportunity for expertise in the fastener space. So we absolutely see the need to keep having an opportunity to teach people and try to expand that knowledge base. It's just not something that you can really come into the industry with in general. So it's really important that as a group, we make sure we keep building and keeping that knowledge as we see kind of a natural turnover and a knowledge transfer that we have to capture. So yeah, we're hyper focused on that, even within our 4 walls or however many walls we have. It's a lot more than 4 now, but also within the industry. So really good point. And we're just appreciative that the Institute exists to be able to teach people specified.
There's a lot of good information there. And I can tell you, I majored in mechanical engineering a long time ago, but I think we might have spent an hour or 2 on screw threads or something like that. And that was about it.
Yeah, probably spent 2 hours figuring out how to design a brand new fastener for every application.
Yeah, so good. Well, that's good that you guys are doing that and all the other stuff that you're involved with. Good. Well, anyways, I want to thank you for coming back on the show and talking about the FDI and Würth Industry USA and everything else in between.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and we'll look forward to seeing the March results, and maybe we even get above that 52 number. It'd be great to see us scratch 53. That'd be a big...
We'll see what happens. Anecdotally, I saw that gas prices are up. I don't know if that... but we'll see what happens. Hopefully things will settle down in the next 4 weeks here.
Well, I'm not going to pretend like I can be your energy analyst. I'll leave it with the hardware distribution piece.
Right. Just react to what happens.
All right. Well, thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us, Chapman. That was Würth Industry USA Managing Director and President Chapman Revercomb. The FDI number for February 2026 was 52.7 versus 52.0 in January 2026. Visit FDIsurvey.com to participate in the process and get a detailed PDF copy of Baird's monthly analysis. Now for today's top story. American Securities LLC, a U.S. private equity firm, entered into a definitive agreement to sell CPM and MW Components, two of its portfolio companies, to Rosebank Industries in the UK. The transaction is valued at $3.25 billion US. The founders of Rosebank have a long track record and experience of successfully executing their buy, improve, and sell strategy. They acquire businesses in which they see potential for further improvement and effect meaningful change through decisive management action and investment. Founded in 1883, CPM is headquartered in Blaine, Minnesota, and it is a leader in the design and manufacture of highly engineered process equipment and automation systems. MW Components, headquartered in Charlotte, North Carolina, is a manufacturer of fasteners, springs, and precision metal components, all made in the USA. MW Components serves over 14,000 OEMs, distributors, and aftermarket customers through multiple channels across the aerospace, medical, electronics, energy, agriculture, construction, and other industrial sectors. MW houses over 24 brands and makes products that are mission critical but represent only a small portion of the overall finished product cost. The company operates 24 manufacturing facilities across the USA, and it employs more than 1,750 people. Michael Fish, founder and CEO of American Securities, said, quote, "It has been a true privilege to partner with these exceptional management teams. With Dave Webster's leadership at CPM and Tom Amato's leadership at MW, both businesses have built durable platforms for sustained success. We are confident that CPM and MW Components are well positioned to build on their momentum and pursue the next phase of growth with Rosebank." Thomas Amato, CEO of MW Components, added, quote, "American Securities has played an instrumental role in MW Components' evolution. Over the years, American Securities has brought thoughtful guidance and operations rigor to support the company's growth and strategic repositioning initiatives. Their partnership has positioned MW Components for well-continued success in the years ahead." Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In corporate news, the Watermill Group sold Cooper Turner Beck, also known as CTB, to Waterland Private Equity. Howmet Aerospace acquired Brunner Manufacturing. TR launched an immersive data center 360-degree experience. Spiral received Caterpillar's 2025 Supplier Excellence Recognition Award. AMFT, also known as the Associated Metal Forming Technologies, acquired assets of P&B Metal Components. Olander achieved AS9100D certification. Gobel Fasteners announced a new partnership with Crest Fasteners as an official authorized distributor. Fabry acquired Metric Fasteners and Stern Instruments. All Pro Fasteners, also known as APF, celebrated its 50th year of providing fastening solutions. Birmingham Fastener launched Atlantic Fasteners in North Carolina. Maximum Fasteners acquired Weld Engineering and Fabrication, and AFC Industries launched Klein Tools Customs. In personnel news, Century Fasteners promoted Joan Neeson to General Manager, Aerospace and Government Sales, Dan Williams to General Manager, Operations, and it appointed Jane Williams to Independent Contractor and Serena Damesworth as Director of Quality. Linfast Solutions Group, also known as LSG, promoted Megan Swanson to Vice President, Corporate Controller, and Douglas Regals, co-CEO of Martin Supply, joined the Board of Directors of the National Association of Wholesale Distributors, also known as NAW. And one final personnel story. After a distinguished 43-year career in the fastener industry, O.J. Simpson announced his retirement from the LSG Group, effective February 27, 2026. O.J. served as president of Stelfast during the last 6 years of his career, and for the previous 9 years, he was national sales manager based out of Stelfast, New Jersey branch. Some people were aware that around the time that he made his retirement announcement, he was dealing with a medical issue that required surgery. OJ would like everyone to know that he came through the procedure with no serious complication, and he looks forward to beginning his retirement in very good health and with fond memories of good friends from the fastener industry. Fully Threaded Radio caught up with OJ to reflect on his retirement.
So the good part is it was my choice, and that, nothing really pushed me to do this other than that I wanted to spend time with my family. I got a grandson. I want to be around him more. I want to play a little golf. I want to travel. I want to do some things. And, this obviously is going to allow me to do anything I want to now. Nothing really drove it. It was more a decision just based on good things going on in my life and just wanting to continue on with that. I have to say the LSG team from top to bottom, they've been wonderful. And I want to take it one step further. We're owned by private equity, Nordic Partners. Those guys treated me really well also. I have great managers at Stellfast that I'm going to miss, great people that work for me. I mean, I've been the president of Stellfast for 6 years. And, I like going to work. I like doing my job. I didn't have to struggle to go in every day because I enjoyed the people I worked with and I enjoyed the job. It was fun. But I'm a little older and sometimes you just got to say it's time. And I did. The last week of my employment, before I started retirement, I had a medical issue that I had to get taken care of. The good news is I'm in great shape and that everything worked out. But there's other good news too. I lost 13 pounds in 2 weeks. And that was not, we could say that's good, but I'm in a much better place. So I had to do the hospital visit for a couple of days to take care of something immediately. And then I had surgery this week on Monday, and they took care of everything that needed to be taken care of. And I'm going to be a healthy man. I got some messages from people that had some concerns and wanted to make sure I was okay. I want to let everybody know I'm okay. I've made a lot of friends through the years. I'll never forget. And I appreciate the well wishes and all that, but I'm in a great place. I know my voice doesn't sound that way, but that's because there was a tube down it for a day and a half, but that's going to get better also. But I'll miss you all. It's been a great ride.
Thanks, OJ. Best wishes on your retirement. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International Magazine and the Fastener News Report monthly newsletter, both available online at fastenertech.com. Now let's turn to the back page to talk about the USA's national debt. On past back page reports, I have shared the economic insights of Dominic Pino, who writes for National Review magazine. And in the April 2026 issue, he has an entry titled 50.5%, which is the proportion of individual income tax revenue that will be spent paying interest on the national debt in 2036, according to forecasts by the Congressional Budget Office, also known as the CBO. Pino reports that the CBO's latest 10-year budget baseline document, updated to include the tax and spending changes from last year's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, projects that the federal government will spend more than $2.1 trillion on net interest on the national debt in the year 2036. Last year, in 2025, it spent $970 billion on the national debt, which was $77 billion more than it spent on defense of the country. In 2036, the CBO projects that individual income taxes, the largest source of federal revenue, will raise $4.25 trillion. This means that just over half, or 50.5%, of individual income tax revenue in 2036 will be used to finance spending that already happened. And the CBO projections are optimistic as opposed to realistic projections of what will actually happen. They are projections of what might happen if today's policies generally stayed in place. They assume that if a law is going to expire in 10 years, the new government programs will be cut in 10 years, and we know that this is not likely. They also assume that interest rates for the next decade will remain relatively low, which is not guaranteed. Even under those mild and possibly naive assumptions, the CBO projects that the budget deficit will be 6.7% of the GDP in 2036. That's more than the average deficit from the years 1976 to 2025 and higher than any of the years in the 1930s. So in 10 years, the U.S. will be running deficits higher than those it ran during the Great Depression, and that's assuming that everything goes pretty well over the next 10 years. In other words, which are mine, not Dominic Pino's, prepare for another depression in the 2030s. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International Magazine, bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
We all know this is about winning the war on notebooks. We can't do that without the ability to offer hard-to-find metric fasteners, manufactured to ISO and DIN standards. Delivered fast, faster, or as fast as your star-spangled man with a plan. Every quote you request, Eurolink fulfills. Help keep America's workers armed and ready with any metric fastener in the multiverse. With Eurolink, you get what you want when you want it. Eurolink, hard-to-find metric fasteners, delivered.
When precision matters, Gobel delivers. Our distributors and authorized dealers partner with us because they're done dealing with the usual headaches. Long lead times, unpredictable back orders, and inconsistent quality from low-cost providers. At Gobel, we don't play those games. We keep consistent stock, we ensure dependable delivery, and we back every order with real technical support that keeps your projects moving on schedule. Because when precision matters, Gobel delivers.
Well, hello everyone. This is Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and Carver Labs in beautiful El Cajon, California. Today's topic came to me via a client who sent me a drawing, otherwise known as a print or a blueprint of a eye bolt. And this print was full of risks. So I thought it might be a good time to talk about the risks associated with what we generally call rigging hardware and lifting hardware. And I'm going to kind of focus in on this particular eye bolt, but we'll do some general risk management work in the whole area of lifting hardware when we return with the Fastener Training Minute.
At Würth, status quo isn't an option. Würth is a global supply chain solutions provider of fasteners, MRO, and safety products, along with value-added services like kitting and assembly, 3D printing, and engineering assistance. Find out what Würth can do for you at WürthIndustry.com.
Solution Man, Ken.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
SOLUTION, SOLUTION. Solution Industry. We are Solution.
Well, welcome back, everyone. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, talking today about what we call rigging hardware or lifting hardware. There's lots of different kinds of rigging and lifting hardware, but generally for fastener suppliers or distributors, we're going to see things like chain, shackles or eye shackles, lifting eyes, and hooks. Those are the four things that I generally see distributors getting engaged in. And when I worked for a distributor, those were the things that we engaged in. And as you can imagine, because of the nature of the very word that we're talking about, lifting or rigging, there's substantial risk associated with the sale and use of this hardware. Because anytime you're hoisting something off the ground overhead with a crane or a chain or any kind of thing like that, if that thing falls, you could have some serious consequences, not just damage to equipment or facilities, but you can kill people and hurt people really badly. So it's important that those types of hardware be selected properly and they be manufactured properly. Now, my recent experience just now had to do with a drawing for a lifting eye, and we'll talk about that in some detail in a minute. But I can't really talk about this topic without at least addressing at a very superficial level some of the other hardware items that are important. Let's start with hooks. You've seen these big giant steel hooks that are about the size of your hand. Sometimes they're the size of your head, sometimes even bigger than that we use for lifting. And they're generally designed to latch onto a chain. They have a long, narrow slot in it where the chain link can go in and stay put. And one of the charms of these hooks is that they often have a latch on them that will prevent the chain from slipping off. Some of them have them, some of them don't. We see these hooks used commonly in another area of rigging, which we're not going to talk about. These are the straps and chains and binding hooks and chains that we use to keep stuff on the bed of big trucks. So we see those hooks and chains there with the binding straps and so on. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the hooks that are used to lift. And it's important that those hooks be rated. It's not just the hook itself. The hook has an eye and a pin, and that's going to attach to whatever you're going to use to do the lifting, the hoist or the crane or whatever. So it goes without saying, make sure that all of your hardware is rated for whatever it is that you're lifting. And then attached to that is a chain. And we have different types of chain. There's very specific chain that is used for lifting overhead. This is called G80 chain, and it's generally heavier duty. It's made from alloy steel, and it's expensive. Be very careful as a supplier that when someone comes in to buy chain and you sell maybe G30 chain or lower strength chain, steel chain, that they're aware they must use only the right chain for overhead lifting. This has been a problem for some suppliers who did not make this clear, and we ended up having lawsuits over an end user using the wrong kind of chain and ending up with an accident. So if you're in the chain business, be very careful about that. I might also say, completely unrelated, this is just from my personal experience, that fastener suppliers tend to be willing to cut this chain. In other words, it comes in a 100-foot piece. If you only want 20 feet, they will cut 20 feet for you. And they use a machine, a sort of a big pair of loppers or scissors called a chain cutter to do that. These are also tools that can use for breaking locks and things like that. Criminals like to have these things. However, when you snap that chain with those cutters, the links tend to fly across the room and they can cause damage. They can hurt people. So these chain cutters should have a box around them. Sometimes they're hydraulic and so on. So be careful if you're cutting chain not to end up with that kind of an accident. Some suppliers refuse to cut the chain because of that risk. And that's not a bad idea if you can't control it. So there's a hook, there's a chain, there's a thing called an eye shackle. And that's a thing that kind of looks like a big loop, and it's got a couple of eyes on the end of it, and it's got a pin that goes through it. The pin has a head on it that has a hole in it, and one of the eyes is threaded and the other one is clear. So you slide that pin in and screw it down. And there's controversy about how tight you should make that pin. Sometimes people say the pin should be kind of loose so it doesn't end up tightening up with the up and down motion. But generally, you should tighten that pin. Either you can tighten it with a wrench or a screwdriver through the hole. Just make it snug so there's no chance time after time after time that it's getting used that pin doesn't end up falling out. Now on to the item that we came here to talk about. That is the lifting eye or forged lifting eye. And there are two types of these. If you want to imagine this eye bolt, it's a ring. They come in a variety of sizes down to very small, like with a 1/4-inch thread, up to gigantic with as big as 1.5 inches or larger thread. But let's pretend for the sake of argument, because this is the one we're talking about, it has a 1/2-inch thread. And it has a ring on top of that 1/2-inch thread. And that ring is about 2 inches in diameter with about a 1-inch hole through it. And it's forged alloy steel or carbon steel. And there are standards for these lifting eyes. And there's an ASTM standard called A489, and it has a lot of requirements in it for testing and chemistry and impact and so on. And there's even a ASME standard for the dimensional requirements for this, and that's ASME B18.15. So we're fairly well covered on the standards on these. However, most suppliers who sell this hardware don't adequately warn their customers about the risks. One of the biggest risks is oftentimes when using these lifting eyes with chain or with wire rope slings or nylon web slings, they do not understand that unless you're pulling straight up, the load rating is dramatically decreased. So if we have two slings on two sides of, let's say, a plate that we're lifting, and we now have a triangle of chain or wire rope or web, those lifting eyes are being pulled at an angle, and especially if they're what's called a plane lifting eye. That means there is no shoulder under that big loop between the thread and the eye. Therefore, they're subject to bending. We never want to use a non-shouldered lifting eye except for a straight pull, because we'll bend it at the thread and that could be a catastrophe. When we have a shoulder, we can tighten it all the way down. It seats on the shoulders just like a bolt or a hex cap screw would seat on its bearing surface. And now it's safer to pull that lifting eye at an angle. And for the most part, if you are a supplier who is supplying out of a catalog, I'm going to just use the generic. It's not generic because I'm going to say the name, Chicago Hardware, for example. They have very good information in their catalog about how to safely use this rigging hardware. And so that's what you want to show to your client or your customer. Don't give them any advice ever about whether something is suitable for a particular application or not. Here's the catalog. You read it, do what you want with that information. But it should be incumbent on any supplier selling lifting hardware that they have some kind of a warning notice on their packing slip in their front lobby or wherever, whenever they sell chain, to warn the customer that they must be sure they're using the proper chain if they intend to use it for an overhead lifting application. And if they are using these machinery eye bolts, that they are aware that when they are loading them at an angle, that the load rating is substantially decreased. Well, this was more of a safety lesson, I think, than it was a Fastener Training Minute. But I think it is one of the most important lessons for suppliers to realize in terms of risk. There's significant risk associated with selling this kind of hardware. As a matter of fact, many suppliers just choose not to be in that game. And there are also suppliers who are heavily into that game. In fact, some who that's what they focus on is just the sale and use of rigging hardware. And by the way, we test rigging hardware here at Carver Labs. We test ropes and straps and lifting eyes, and we proof load all kinds of slings and stuff like that. So if you ever have an issue or a question regarding the qualification and testing of rigging hardware, look us up. Well, that's it for now. This is Carmen Vertullo. This has been your Fastener Training Minute. I hope you learned something. Thanks for listening.
Hi, this is Kara Bossi from MW Components, your precision component supplier for fastener springs and other metal parts, and I'm talking to Eric on Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric back with you, fighting for truth, justice, and the Fastener way of life, fully threaded. You are there, Brian, right?
Oh, I'm here, yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Well, I was just concerned, because these days, every time I reach out to you, you're deeply involved with Claude or ChatGPT or something, and sometimes I have a hard time breaking you away from that world. So thank you for being here.
Right. I had an argument with Claude over the weekend, actually.
Yeah, these have become sort of a regular thing around here. Well, as we said before the break, we're going to jump right into it. We've got Ian Heller here with us. He is co-founder of Distribution Strategy Group. A lot of you know him. He's out there, let's say it that way. I see him on LinkedIn all the time. He's doing podcasts. What's the name of your podcast, Ian? Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. So, we do a bunch of virtual programs. The one that you're probably referring to is called Wholesale Change, and that's the one that I co-host with my business partner, Jonathan Bine.
Yes, you do a great job on that. And you're also doing video. This, of course, is only audio, and that's for obvious reasons. But I'm very envious of what you guys produce over there.
Oh, I don't know about that. You guys have been around a lot longer, and you're a legend in your industry. But yeah, we've been working hard to produce good content too.
Well, the last time we talked to you, it was in connection with your AI conference that was held in June. Correct me if I'm wrong, in Chicago, and that's coming up again right around the corner. Really, when you think about it, we'll get to that. But so much is going on. AI is speeding its development like you can't even believe. There was an essay that came out in, we're recording this in late February. This was February 9th. Matt Schumer on X posted I don't know what you want to call it, a blog, an essay. It was called Something Big is Happening. And by my read of it, if he's correct, and we'll get into this more as we discuss it, guys, but if he's correct, this is going to be one of these seminal articles, much like Bill Joy's Does the Future Need Us back in, I think it was 2000 in Wired magazine, that blew people's minds with its forecasts, prognostications, and I don't know, sort of gloomy outlook. But here we are. We all made it. And what do you think of this one, Ian? When you first read this thing the first time, I'm sure you've read it several times by now. Something big is happening, and it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of this has been floating around in different forms and by different writers. I think he really brought it together in a nice, concise way. And it's sort of the promise and peril of AI in one, right? So it's kind of like, Dario Amodei, who's the founder and CEO of Anthropic, has done 2 white papers on AI. One is about the good things that it's going to bring. The other is the risk that's associated with it. I think Schumer's done a nice job sort of distilling that message into one column, and it's very well worth reading. It's also on his personal blog as well. I think it was published in Fortune or something too.
Well, for someone who wouldn't be quite up on AI, if they stumbled across this article, they'd get a bit of a surprise, okay? Because it would indicate that we're racing headlong towards singularity.
Yeah.
Well, as a more of a practically useful point, and this is what we want to think about right here during this conversation, guys, Schumer's really saying that the time when massive job losses due to AI deployment are here, actually. So I don't know if you want to call it the singularity yet, Bri, because that talks about AGI, this idea of AI really becoming sentient and all that. Now, we don't need to really think about AI in those terms in this context, right? We just want to kick this idea around of, is this really the point where job loss is going to kick off? And Ian, you being so well placed in the wholesale distribution arena, I thought you'd have some ideas on this. Do you see it coming? I mean, what do you make of it? Schumer was, of course, using as his foil during this essay a senior partner in a law firm. So he was looking at it from a software engineer's point of view, but saying this is bleeding over into, say, less technical areas too. How does wholesale distribution sit in all this?
Yeah, I think wholesale distribution will be affected on about average when it comes to industries, but average is going to be huge. It's going to be huge, right? So, I think there are 3 things that make AI different than previous technology breakthroughs, because, the pushback that I get when I talk about, and a lot of people give when they talk about how AI is going to affect jobs or not, is they'll say things like, yeah, but historically, every new technology created more jobs than it displaced.
Right.
And that's true, right? Over time, new technologies like e-commerce created a whole new classes of jobs that never existed before. You didn't have SEO analysts in 1990, right? Or dozens of other jobs. The difference with AI is the first technology that's actually more capable than humans in many ways, and soon will be more capable in humans at most things. And as a result, when it creates new jobs, it's going to go ahead and take those jobs because it's better qualified. That's the difference. Is when e-commerce created new jobs, it created new jobs that humans had to do because technology couldn't. AI is going to create new jobs that technology can literally do better than humans. And so it's going to consume its own the jobs that it creates. So that's never happened before because we've never created a technology entity that's literally smarter and more capable than human beings. I think there are a couple of other things too. One is AI is not like, ATMs where it's one technology affecting one narrow part of the job market. Artificial intelligence is going to affect so many jobs simultaneously that people can't retrain because the jobs that they would normally retrain for are evaporating at the same rate as the job that they're leaving or losing. And then I think the third one, I wrote a column about this recently, is I call it the attrition myth of AI, because many times, I'm sure you guys have run into this, you'll hear some company say, well, we're adopting AI, but we're not going to lay anybody off. We're going to let attrition take care of the headcount reduction we need to achieve the productivity goals that AI promises. Well, 2/3 of people who leave a job leave for another job. So if those other companies also are embracing AI and they're not laying off anybody, there's not going to be very much attrition because everybody's attriting at the same time. And so in that environment, if companies want to achieve the productivity goals, they're going to have to turn to layoffs because the attrition is going to halt as people don't have anywhere to go. So I think, that's going to be a lever that makes all this happen a lot faster once it begins in a real way.
Or happens more slowly as people sit and think about it when they're having their evening cocktail about what really to do.
Yeah. Well, I think employees aren't going to have a choice because I think companies are going to set like 3-year AI productivity targets, not 10-year AI productivity targets. And so, they're going to say, well, look, if people aren't leaving, if attrition's slowing down, we're going to do layoffs instead.
Okay, let's put this into very concrete terms for listeners. Specifically in wholesale distribution, what jobs are leaving first?
Customer service is leaving first. I mean, you guys know about these order automation tools that are out there. I heard about 3 new order automation products in the last 2 weeks. They're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. And so automating that order placement and taking a list of SKUs, whether it's in an Excel spreadsheet or handwritten on a piece of paper, and turning it into an ERP order, that is being automated at a ferocious rate. And so people who answer the phone and talk to customers and enter orders into the system, those jobs are already declining at a rapid rate and are going to decline a lot faster. Anyone who's doing white collar work in an office at a distributor, so that may be a financial analyst, a marketing analyst, a marketing copywriter, an AR specialist, an AP specialist, et cetera. So, there you got, people in finance, operations, marketing, and more. If you are, interacting with the computer most of the time, then that's next after customer service. I think, and this will sound tongue in cheek, but I mean it seriously. I think salespeople will be human as long as customers are human, and customers are increasingly becoming not human. So you've got automated purchasing, which may take the form of, hey, we use e-procurement, or it may take the form of industrial vending machines or bins that have replenishment mechanisms built in to automatically reorder when they get low. So you are seeing some of that sort of regular transactional purchasing already being automated. So if I was in sales, I would work on my ability to negotiate large-scale contracts with big companies with senior executives, because that's going to be the last bastion of sales to get automated. And generally speaking, humans like dealing with humans. So I think sales is around longer than customer service or these other white-collar jobs. But that's sort of the order in which I see jobs being shed by distributors.
So in Schumer's essay, he basically says what you said. Anybody who looks at a screen for a living had better start to think about what other things they can be doing, or at least doing the things they're doing now in a much different way.
Right. Look, a keyboard and a mouse is a really inefficient way to connect computers and brains, right? I mean, it's always been the slowest part of the connection, right? Because your brain's a computer and it can go really fast, and your laptop's a computer and the ERP it's connected to is a computer. And yet we connect the brain to the computer with, these clunky manual keys and a mouse, right? So it's always been a slow interface. And some of that's being replaced by, just like voice technology, et cetera. Right. We're seeing that increasingly. But I think ultimately, if you can take the human out of it entirely, you go even faster. And fast equals productivity. Speed is productivity as efficiency. And so I think, this has been inevitable, but the order of magnitude increases in capability that LLMs have brought us have meant that, wow, rather than just take the keyboard out of the equation, I can take the human out of the equation entirely. And that's increasing what you're seeing happening.
Yeah, well, in theory, right. So how do you separate this idea of LLM-centric AI versus agentic AI, which seems to be sort of a separator in the way you hear things these days? How do you break that down?
Yeah, well, LLMs just respond to what you ask them to do. They don't do anything proactively. And their output is, primarily text, or it's code, or it's image or video, right? I mean, that's the output of an LLM. It tells you something, it shows you something, or it writes code. That's the output of an LLM. Agentic actually acts on your behalf as an agent working for you. So the simple example I give is, it's not going to be too long before you tell an LLM, hey, I've got to go to a conference in Miami on May 7th. I need you to plan the trip and put it all on my calendar and track my expenses for it. And that agent will go and access your hotel account, your airline account, your credit cards accounts. It knows your preferences, knows where you like to sit, what airlines you like to take, that you like to go direct and skip connections unless there's a significant cost savings. It'll plan the whole trip out before you come back and say, hey, how does this look before I book everything? You're going to glance at it and say, great. And then it's going to literally go and make the reservations for you. It's going to book the flight and the hotel and make sure your loyalty numbers are attached. And it's going to put all of that on your calendar And if you have meetings on your calendar that are conflicts, it's going to go ahead and reach out to those people and reschedule them. So it's literally an agent acting on your behalf. That's where the term agentic comes from. Now, imagine that technology applied to customer service inquiries or expediting orders or getting technical information, answering questions of all kinds for customers, processing a return, taking care of your accounts receivable and payable. I mean, these are going to be software agents that do that work proactively. So they're not just responding with image code or text like an LLM is. They're literally reaching into the digital and physical world on your behalf and doing things for you.
You know that in about 1985-6, Steve Jobs talked about a program that would float around the web on your behalf and do things sort of like that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I forgot the name. He dreamed up a name for it, but it was something that you would set going from your own computer and it would float around somewhere, probably on an Apple server somewhere that was doing things for you and then send you back messages.
Yeah, it's funny how, visionary he was. But here's a prediction I have. In the not too distant future, you're going to be on a Zoom call or a Teams call, and you're not going to know which of the people in the windows are real and which ones are agents.
Yeah, mind-blowing.
I don't think I want that for the moment. Okay.
Yeah, no, I get it. Right. I'm not saying it's desirable. I'm just saying it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, you could take this back, Bri, from Steve Jobs. You could go back to H.G. Wells. You could go back to Sir Francis Bacon. How far do you want to go? Point is, we're here now, and this idea of the global mind or hive mind that it seems like this is all approaching it's unknowable, at least by people like me. And I'll tell you, while you're describing this, Ian, my mind immediately goes to how would a regular person manage all the permissions involved in doing something like this and maintain any kind of security or privacy? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Actually, there's a IBM engineer. His name is Jeff Kroom. He's actually speaking at our conference. He's got a PhD in cybersecurity. He's a really bright guy, and he talks. He just did a recent YouTube video specifically on that, because you're not just going to give these agents your credentials. You're going to have a new approach to security where they get credentials in an automated, efficient, but safe way, meaning they're temporary and they're very limited. And so it's a really interesting video, and I suggest people go watch it. But he's talking about, cybersecurity in the age of AI, and giving credentials to agents is a big part of what we have to work out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're giving them yourself.
Yes.
And all of your passwords and everything.
Yeah. Right. So how do you manage that in a way that doesn't compromise your identity or your security?
Yeah.
So you were saying, Ian, a minute ago that you'll be on a Zoom call or something, and there'll be all these people, quote unquote, on this call, and you won't be able to tell who's real and who's an AI. And I guess in a lot of cases, this will just be an avatar of maybe your personal agentic AI, at least for some time, until they start enslaving us. Oh, did I say that? But really what it comes down to is truly, this is a justification for all kinds of biometric identification, isn't it? I mean, this is the next level of internet ID.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're on the call and somebody is in the window and you don't know if they're real or, that person's digital twin, their clone, right? Or if it's a non-existent person at all, you don't necessarily have control over whether or not they're on the call,
right.
If you're just a participant.
All right. Well, let's reel it back to the world we're looking at right now. You see a lot of tech out there. You mentioned it before. Who do you see out there making big waves right now? Who are people paying attention to in wholesale distribution and AI tools, or anything that you're really looking at?
Well, like I mentioned, order automation is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. There's just a whole bunch of those companies right now. We're seeing it across the distributor's enterprise, right? So if you put order automation at the front, or quote automation at the front, then you start running it back and you say, well, then there are other things about customer service that are becoming AI enabled. And then there are sales functions that are becoming AI enabled. We're increasingly seeing AI applied in various ways to CRMs, so that CRMs are increasingly more proactive. So rather than just tracking the account manager, they're arming them with better information to make smarter, more effective sales calls. And then you've got everything related to the transaction, right? So you've got setting credit. There are technologies coming out that help you manage credit better. Because remember, as you know, distributors manage their own credit. They're not, for the most part, using credit cards. And so that's a big area of risk and value add for distributors. So getting better tools around managing credit lines is important. And then you've got people managing accounts receivable, so there are tools that will go through your accounts receivable and tell you which ones you should worry about, which ones you should make phone calls for, which ones are going to be okay. Accounts payable, same thing. There's returns. So, there's a company called Continuum that coordinates returns with distributors and manufacturers and customers to make them easier. And then, there are e-commerce platforms that are increasingly AI enabled. There's warehousing that is increasingly becoming robotic, whether that's inventory counting drones or sort of integrating human and robots achieve better picking. There's logistics software to help you deliver better. I mean, really from across the distributor's value proposition, increasingly you're seeing AI enablement. And the net effect of that is going to be better service. It's going to change the expectations of service. I mean, you think about like right now, if you make a phone call to a customer service number, you spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get to a human being, right? It's like operator, because you're trying to get the software to get you to someone who can help you better.
Yeah, representative.
Right, right. I predict in the next few years that's going to flip and you're going to want to talk to the software because the software is going to have access to every system. First of all, there's going to be a point in time when you never get put on hold again, ever, because they're going to have infinite capacity or effectively infinite capacity with AI agents answering the phone. The AI agents will have access instantly to more and better information and will be able to resolve your problem better than humans can. So I think that's going to flip sometime over the next few years. I think one thing to watch is that software economics are changing. So for years, people didn't write their own software because economically it made sense for one entity, a software company, to write that ERP or CRM or whatever, and then license it out to many, many, many users who could collectively fund the development of that software. That's just the way software economics work. But that's beginning to change some now. In fact, there was a big market reaction a couple of weeks ago. You've got tools like Lovable out there where you can create your own software. And so increasingly going forward, I think the software companies that have an advantage have some kind of network effect built in, right? Where it's like, hey, we have information collectively among many customers that makes the software stronger and better and more useful. But because if I just run software that's only good for one company at a time, there's no network effect where the more companies that use it, the more important my software becomes. Then people are going to use tools like Lovable to write their own substitutes. And so that's a big thing the software industry is reacting to right now is how do we get network effects into our software to make sure that people don't just write their own to replace whatever it is we do.
I don't know Lovable. Is that like Replit? Is that sort of a parallel idea?
I mean, they're often mentioned in the same, they're both application development platforms, So, I mean, the way I think about them, I don't know if this is right. I think of a Lovable as sort of quick prompt based with a focus on UI and speed. And I think Replit is a lot more comprehensive. So it's more in-depth and more complex logic and direct code control. So I think I do think as I'm thinking through it, but there are others too out there too. There's like Bolt and Caffeine and others. But I know in our company, we've been toying around with Lovable the most.
Well, we're watching all these companies pop up, and I guess there's so much going on all at the same time with this AI. It's just, it's blinding speed. There's too much to keep up with. You're on top of all of it, and you're only aware of a fraction of it. So therefore, what I'm getting at is, as I see some of these companies come into the fastener industry, and there are a handful of them, I wonder to myself, how long do these companies, and I wish them all success, I don't have anything against any of them, but the point is, how long is the lifespan of a company like this before it just basically becomes a commodity due to the very AI that they're helping to improve?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why you're looking for companies that have some staying power in terms of, having network effects built in, or they have the ability to capture a lot of market share in a relatively short period of time. So they become this, because, I think most markets tend to boil down to a handful of competitors in the long run. And certainly if you're looking at startups versus stalwarts, the stalwarts are more likely to be around in the long run, but the startups are often where the breakthrough leading or new functionality is. So the companies that go to our conference are typically pretty well capitalized, I mean, but every year we get companies that show up I've never heard of before. So, I'm looking at the list from this year and it's like, wow, I got to look up to see what that company does. I mean, they're new, right? And to your point, it's like, yeah, part of my job is to keep up with this stuff, but it's actually impossible to keep up with. It doesn't, you can only consume so much.
Right.
And honestly, that's one of the things I use LLMs for is, hey, help me catch up on what's going on in AI because it's just impossible for me to sort through it. And so I use it as sort of a vetting and filtering mechanism because I can't pay attention to 1,000 different brands at the same time of software.
Do you have a favorite LLM then?
It depends on what I'm using it for. So I use Gemini for image generation if I'm not using Canva. It by far is the best for image generation. Also, it's the best for searching the web in real time. Although Perplexity is good at that too. So those are the two. If I want to know what's on the web right now, I use those two. If I actually want to write something, like a script for a presentation, Claude is really, really good at that. ChatGPT is really, really bad at that. For regular sort of Q&A about, more in-depth expertise on specific subjects, I use ChatGPT. So those are the four that I use the most right now, and that's how I use them. Claude is both Claude and ChatGPT, and Schumer points this out in his article, are both phenomenal at writing code now, but I don't really write a lot of code. We have Brian Hopkins, our COO, who does, and he seems to prefer Claude for code writing.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I've been dealing with Claude. I had this real weird thing happen to me. You carry on these conversations and you rely on the fact that your browser doesn't shut down, or if it does, it brings you back to the same thing when you turn your machine on again. Went through this whole thing. It says, hey, you got to go to a paid plan or something. And my whole 3-day conversation with Claude completely disappeared. I was staggered. I went back and, okay, we're just talking about this. I said, no, I have no memory of anything that happened before. So anyway, Eric knows because I sent him a panic note saying, I've lost all my work I was doing. Well, it turns out, of course, and people much smarter than me and not even necessarily don't have to be amazingly smart, the conversations are all stored. I just never knew that, okay?
Yeah, right.
So I stewed the whole night of having lost 3 days of work, and I went into Google. I said, so if my conversation gets interrupted, can I go back and find it? I said, oh, sure. It's in one of the buttons on the left-hand side of the screen.
Right.
Now, the crazy thing is, and everything was just there. I went back and found it. The Claude who started up the new version of it, when I said, well, I've lost everything, you'd think Claude would have said, oh, no, you haven't. It's just look at your conversations. It never said that.
Huh.
It led me through to a complete rework of where I was when it all stopped.
Well, that's another one of those examples of when you're dealing with this stuff, at least in today's world, with today's versions, you always have to question it. You cannot be completely trusting. You have to still have your wits about you when you're doing it. And a lot of times those gut calls, Bri, as you can see, they save you a lot of work. Getting back to the Schumer article, his suggestion is to start using AI more and to begin to adapt to all these changes that are coming. A lot of them we don't know what they are, so that's a little bit of a of a frightening ask, I guess, for a lot of people. But it's the same takeaway that happened at last year's Distribution Strategy AI conference, Bri.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. When you came back from that, you said, all right, my pledge is that every day I'm going to use it for a minimum of a half hour. And, Ian, I was talking the other day with Tony Pericles from
Profit Optics.
Profit Optics, thank you. Yeah. And now he's, let's say it this way, he's a senior in this space also, and I don't even think he really needs to be worrying about adapting. I think he's pretty much where he needs to be, but he is digging right in, and he's learning this stuff, and he's learning agentic AI because he is looking down the road, and he's excited by it. I know he'll be at your event this summer. How are you lining it all up?
Yeah, well, first, a word on Tony. He's worth following on LinkedIn, and he's got really interesting posts, and, he's a really, really bright guy. But are you asking, how are we structuring the event?
Mm-hmm. How are you going about the process of setting it all up, not knowing what'll be around in 6 months?
Right.
Yeah, I know. Well, so first of all, we have 34 technology companies already signed up to be there, and we'll probably have a handful more, so probably have about 40.
Is Hawk Search in the mix?
They are, yeah.
I want to talk to those guys some more. I met them out in Vegas.
Yeah, they're sponsoring one of our tech leader panels, so they'll be on stage for a little while, and they'll have a table. So yeah, HawkSearch is awesome. Good partners for us. I mean, look, we're trying to provide value in a combination of ways, right? So some of it is having the right technology companies there. We don't just let anybody in the show. So you've got to have a real AI story. We have to approve your speaker and your slides, and because it can't be a bunch of demos and sales pitches, right? It's got to be educational. If you're going to speak to our audience, you have to educate the audience. That has to be your focus. Then we have a bunch of keynote speakers, right? So we've got the CTO from Grainger, Johnny Leroy, who's going to be talking about how they're using AI, which is a big deal. And we've got the CEO of the Burning Glass Institute, a guy named Matt Sigelman, and he specializes in jobs, generally speaking, but he's been working obviously a lot with how AI is going to impact jobs. So he's going to be talking about that. Then we got a bunch of distribution executives on stage talking about how they're adopting AI. So you've got you get the technical side of it. You've got industry people talking about how they're using it. And then there's the networking, which is probably the most important of all of them. Because, I mean, this is a different conference. You guys probably saw that when you were there last year. This doesn't look like a typical association conference, right? I mean, it feels more like a tech conference about distribution rather than a distribution conference with some technology support. So as you know, our dress code is you must wear clothes. That's it. And we don't want this to be about people in blue sports coats. We want it to be about the technology itself. But the very nature of the audience that this attracts is just different than a normal distribution conference. I mean, these are the most technology forward people you're going to meet at a conference. And so it's a really good place to network and ask some of these hard questions to a group of people who've actually been thinking about them through a distribution context or in a distribution context. So, I think it's the combination of, hey, we've got leading technologists presenting from stage. We've got leading distribution executives talking about their adopting AI. Then there's a whole bunch of networking time built in. And there's a chance for one-on-one meetings with a bunch of different people. So I think it's sort of a total immersion in AI that happens over 2 days. Plus we got a pre-show workshop, which is the future of AI and distribution, taught by Jonathan Bine, my business partner, who's got a PhD in computer science in AI. And then we have 2 post-show workshops. One is about how to develop your AI roadmap for your distribution company. And the other one is by Nick Pericles, who's Tony's son. And as you probably know Nick, he's brilliant too.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how you build AI agents. And he's going to actually help you build an agent in the class.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize he was going to be presenting. Oh, man.
Yeah. So I assume you guys are going to come back this year. But if you do, you're going to love it. It's more total immersion in AI for distributors.
That's awesome. Okay, I should have done this at the top, Ian. I did a bad job here, but for everyone listening, this event that we're talking about, it's being put on by Distribution Strategy Group, happening in Chicago, June 23rd through the 25th. The website for all of it, distributionstrategy.com. We're talking with Ian Heller, of course, the one and only, and he's got several of his articles on this website as well, other contributors, good stuff. The MDM pedigree is showing through, Ian. That's a blast from the past, huh?
Yeah.
I think that's how you and I first connected.
I think it was. Yeah, I was only there for a couple of years, and we started this company 5 years ago. So I have a lot more time here than there. But that's how I got started in content. Yeah.
Well, for anyone who's in the distribution industry, which is many of our listeners, you should go to this conference, okay? Most people probably think, how can I implement it or how can I do it? Well, you'll talk to people who are implementing it or have done it, okay? And they can tell you how to do it and give you advice, and you can sit and talk to people thinking about it and doing it. It's a great, great chance to really move into the next decade.
You're already planning your wardrobe for this, I can tell, Brian.
No, I don't have to wear a blue coat.
No wardrobe planning required.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can show up in shorts. We don't care.
All right, Ian, we appreciate your advice on all this, your wisdom, and we look forward to seeing you out there in June. Any final thoughts you have on this Schumer essay before we call it a segment?
Yeah, I think you should look. I think, first of all, you're the one who pointed this out to me, and I really appreciate you did, because I actually hadn't heard of it until you told me about it. But you can go to schumer.dev. So that's SHUMER.dev. That's his blog. And this one's called Something Big is Happening. I think it's a really nice distillation of where we are with AI right now. And I think look, his point is that it's going to eliminate a lot of jobs, and you can't control that as an individual. I mean, all of us as citizens of the United States and citizens of the world need to be concerned about that, and we should be pushing for some type of macro solutions. What we can control is our careers and the companies if we run a company, the companies that we run. And our job in those contexts is to adopt AI as fast as possible, because if you don't know AI, you're probably not going to have a job. And if you run a company and you don't adopt AI, then you're not going to be employing anybody soon, because your competitors are going to take away your business. So your only choice in your personal context and in the context of running your business is to be as good as you can be and better than most of your competitors in adopting AI, because that's what's going to protect you the most.
All right, that's well said. That's a takeaway we can all percolate on, I guess, until June. Yeah. I have to say, Ian, that I will say this again. I want to continue to be on the record here, but I am really of the Eric Larson school of AGI. I don't see it coming in the near future. That doesn't mean that I don't see the urgency of this moment, and a lot of what Schumer is saying is being 100% correct. I think in the ensuing time, we're going to see a lot of chaos, because it's going to sort out. There's going to be a lot of false starts. Brian and I are well acquainted with that. Believe me, we climbed a tall ladder, which got us nowhere, which is where we find ourselves today. Fortunately, Brian is digging back in, and we're taking another stab, but you got to be tough to succeed in all this. I got to say that.
I agree.
Right.
Well, thanks, guys. It's always great to be with you. And looking forward
likewise.
to seeing you. Let's make sure they reach out to me offline. We'll get you registered for our show. We love having you there.
I learned a lot last year. I look forward to it. Okay.
Awesome.
Keep well. Okay. See you there.
Ian Heller, Distribution Strategy. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, guys. It's my honor.
We'll be back in just a minute with more Fully Threaded.
Brighton Best International now offers a wide variety of aluminum fasteners available from stock, including hex cap screws, nuts, washers, and riveting products. Aluminum delivers key performance advantages. It's lightweight at roughly 1/3 the weight of steel, corrosion resistant, non-magnetic, and offers excellent electrical and thermal conductivity. Major industries include automotive and EV manufacturing, marine, construction, electronics enclosures, and renewable energy systems. Aluminum fasteners help reduce overall system weight, lower fuel and energy consumption, and decrease life cycle maintenance costs. Recyclable and sustainable, they support today's environmental goals. Visit brightonbest.com for all your fastener needs.
Are you tired of empty promises from software vendors? Are you paying for support that you're not receiving? Is it time for another paid upgrade? There is a solution. InSequel delivers quality software designed for the fastener industry at an affordable price with industry-leading support. www.inxsql.com.
Hi, I'm Linda from LindFast, the mom of this big, hardworking family. Most folks know us as LindFast Solutions Group, but did you know we also have a full LindFast manufacturing group behind the scenes? At Big Bolt and Mega Fasteners, our team is forging American-made strength every single day. From structural bolts to specialty fasteners built for the toughest jobs. And with Delta Secondary, we add precision finishing and customization that takes every product to the next level. When you need domestic manufacturing, real capacity, and more solutions under one roof, my family has you covered. LindFast Solutions Group and LindFast Manufacturing Group, American-made strength. One family, endless solutions.
Hey there, Fastener friends. Tough-Nutter Jake Davis, reminding you to save the date, Saturday, August 29th, for the Tough Mudder, Rockford, Illinois. Hope to see you there.
Hi, this is Deb with 3Q Inc., your source for a wide variety of U.S.-made parts from the heart of the fastener industry. You're listening to Brian and Eric on Fully Threaded Radio.
All right, Bryce, so it looks like I got to get myself suited up to come back to Chicago in June for sure now. Hit this AI conference with you.
Yeah, I went to it last year. It was amazingly informative, and a lot of the stuff which is the hype that goes with this AI is dispelled by people who are actually doing it and can tell you how to do it or do it for you. So it's a very, very interesting expo, actually.
I was glad you went out there because when you came back, you were like, you were on fire for it and you got a lot of stuff actually achieved. So it was definitely a good investment of time for us.
The main idea that the keynote speaker said, he says, look, it's here. Don't be terrified of it. Learn how to love it, But like Peter Sellers, learn to live with the bomb. So the thing was, you have to get used to use it every day. Make sure you use it every day, and then you'll realize that it can help you, and the bits that it won't help you in. So it's how you get used to it.
So now Ian Heller is the Dr. Strangelove of AI. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he was Dr. Strangelove. But it was good. I met a lot of very talented and very interesting people, and people who can tell you about different things they're doing. So instead of just, hearing so much talk, you actually can see real bits of it working, okay?
I understand. I got you. That is very, very exciting. And I think a lot of people, after hearing the conversation we just had, and maybe some of them will go and check out that essay, Something Big is Happening.
Yeah.
They might also, in the back of their mind, have other thoughts that are creeping in too. And they're all there. So they're all things that we have to deal with, though. So it was great to have Ian Heller of Distribution Strategy come on the podcast today and share his ideas with it.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks also to Jason Baines with J. Lanfranco, the congenial Jason Baines.
Yeah, when he's not being asked questions he doesn't want to answer, okay?
Sorry about that, Jason. Blanca Delgado with Fastener Fair USA was here, and Chapman Revercomb with Würth Industry USA joined Mike McNulty on the Fastener News Report. Excellent job today, gentlemen.
Surely it was.
Carmen Vertullo had the Fastener Training Minute, and Marco Rodriguez brought us the Cressa real estate update. I should say congratulations also to O.J. Simpson, formerly with LSG. He made a cameo today on the news. Enjoy your time off, your extended time off there, my friend.
Yes, you're right.
He said he's going to swing back with me and do a sit down, and maybe we'll bust out a segment on that. He could tell all now, now that the handcuffs are off him. I'm sure he didn't have many constraints on him, but he was always extremely professional when we talked. And, well, hopefully now he'll just get in the mud with the rest of us, so to speak.
Oh, no, we had numerous times when we would meet up at various places, airports and bars and things. When there's not other people around, we could sit and have a very interesting conversation. He's a nice guy.
Oh, that's right. A lot of people are going to miss having him around, including the people at Star Stainless and the whole LSG group, title sponsors of Fully Threaded for a long, long time. Much appreciated as well.
Yep.
Also title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio, Brighton Best International, of course. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by Buckeye Fasteners, BTM Manufacturing, Eurolink Fastener Supply Service, Fastener Technology International, Cressa, Gobel Fasteners, Fastener Fair USA, InSequel Software, J. Lanfranco, MW Components, Solution Industries, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Würth Industry USA. Do us a favor, folks. Next time you run into somebody from one of these partners, let them know you appreciate their support of the podcast. They keep us going, and it ain't getting any easier, I'll tell you that. One of the things that's swirling all around, we've been pretty much clear on the theme today, is uncertainty caused by AI. And Brian, I want to close by sharing with everyone a tweet I sent you a couple of days ago that really underscores this whole idea of just not being sure about what's around the next corner. You remember this headline I shot over there?
Yeah, I know. I read it. I read the article here.
So on one of the news aggregator sites where I scan headlines every day, and more of them do this, there was a link directly over to Twitter or X. And it was another one of these hair-raising AI headlines about a big layoff that happened, this time at Amazon Prime, allegedly. Okay. So I saw this thing and I thought, oh, it might be thematic to what we're going to talk about today. And I'm working on an article for Link Magazine. So I click over to this thing, and it's a post on X by a handle, Tech Layoff Lover. That's the guy's name that he's using.
Nice. Yeah.
I'll just give you a flavor of this. It's kind of a lengthy post. It says, Amazon Prime Video Bloodbath. 2,847 employees got the email at 6:47 Pacific time. Quote, your role has been eliminated effective immediately. Badges dead by 7:15. Slack access revoked mid-sentence. Senior engineers who built the entire streaming infrastructure gone. The team that shipped 40% faster last quarter using Claude for code generation eliminated. 847 contractors in Bangalore just got handed their prompt libraries and deployment scripts. You get the idea. It goes on like this for quite a while. It closes out. If you're not seeing this coming, you're already dead. DMs open for anyone who needs to talk. So very sobering, very attention grabbing, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And also what you expect to come in the news these days.
It kind of is. I mean, you're already prepared for it. And there it was.
We've been told for the last 2 years that there's going to be an entire world of unemployed people. 7 billion of us all working at how you're going to pay, buy your groceries.
Right. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist with that at all. But we just spent a half hour talking about this essay, Something Big is Happening. It's pretty convincing, pretty alarming. We try to moderate all that with what we're actually seeing. There are many economists that are telling us right now there's really no unusual job loss activity, no layoff activity happening right now, which is, I guess, comforting for the moment. But yeah, we get this. Okay, well, let's cut to the chase here, because the next curve in the road, there's a reader added context section at the bottom of this post, which you don't see on all posts, but it says, this post is made up. No such layoffs happened. The account itself confirmed it is intended as satire, though the post fails to disclose the satire.
Or disclose that it is a satire.
Or disclose that it's probably an AI itself, right?
Yeah.
So you go back and you look at the thing and you say, oh, yeah, well, this is obviously a bot that wrote this thing in the first place. But here's the kicker. There was a headline on a serious news aggregator site that was pointing to this, and the headline was very serious sounding, okay? Nothing satire about it, and by and large, it's not a satire website, so this is the point.
Yeah, so what do we believe then?
Bingo.
Yeah, right, nothing. Yeah, check your sources really carefully.
Well, for people who use AI even casually, or even people who consume news and have any kind of discriminating sense about them, this is the question. What do you believe? And I don't have the answer to that, but this is the point we're at right now. It wouldn't surprise me if these kinds of misleading headlines and all kinds of similar things, I mean, when you take this into the realm of security, it really, really leads to some crazy places. So job loss is one of them. That's something big. This is another thing, though. The loss of meaning, the loss of anything appearing credible. You want something big? There it is.
Well, and you can say, as I did say, watch out for your sources. Well, if a source that you trust suddenly posts a link to something like this, now you have to be doubly careful all the time. I mean, you could have the same sort of thing on the BBC News or something.
Of course, it's everywhere. So now reel this back to fasteners. We were talking off mic. Your latest challenge is to use an AI model to help you draw a pentahead bolt.
Yeah, right.
What's the hang up with that, Bryce? Seems pretty easy. I have it draw things for me all the time and always works. What are you experiencing?
Well, I started off, I was clicking on a link and suddenly on Microsoft Copilot. Well, there's not a lot of these AIs that can actually generate images. They can copy them, they can change them a little bit, but they can't generate one from nothing, okay? So you're left with making sure your description's pretty good. Well, I was just trying to, generate images of bolts, and I was stuck at the security bolt, pentahead bolt. Try as I might, I could not get Copilot, which uses a version of the ChatGPT as its engine underneath, to generate a 5-headed bolt. It couldn't. it would, at one stage, the best it got to was a square-headed bolt with two sides on one, what would have been a square. And it truly was 5 sides, not what I defined. So I got help from Claude AI. How do I define a 5-headed bolt? And I tried with ChatGPT 5. I tried about 11 times and failed every single time. It never, ever could generate that. And Claude says, well, you just have to give up. It can't do it, okay? This is the state of AI where it is. It doesn't know what a 5-headed bolt looks like, and it can't work out how to generate 5 sides on something because it's either 4 or 6 or 12. It can generate those easy, but it's never had to generate 5 sides.
Okay, I think, Bri, in the description there, you're giving a few people some hope that their jobs are still safe for the moment.
Oh, yes, very safe.
Seems like the fastener industry is a place where we do have these natural moats around us a little bit. You know, some of it, I think, stems from kind of the blacksmith nature of it. And we are old world in a lot of ways. AI is creeping in, but we're just watching all this. We're working with it. We're experiencing it like all of you are. And, well, it's ongoing. Good luck, Bri. I know we need all those graphics that you're adding into FCH Sourcing Network, and I think it adds a lot to our search results. We've needed it for a long time. That's a long story in and of itself.
It's a very, very, very long story.
But for now, we're going to say we'll have to get to it next time. We're going to have Tim O'Keefe of Hewitt with us. He'll be looking at the FDI with McNulty and lots of other good stuff for you folks. Sure do appreciate you clicking in.
Well, also, the parting comment really is, don't worry about your job quite yet, okay?
But keep in mind that something big is happening.
Right. Yeah.
And with that, we're going to put this episode of Fully Threaded Radio in the can. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, write a few prompts.
Right.
Sell some screws, and we'll talk to you next time.
Rest secure if you can draw a 5-headed bolt, okay? See you later.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.